Hello, and welcome back to the L1 show. Ooh woo, today is Valentine's Day.
You're already too late.
What? Oh, yeah. If you had to get a gift for someone, yeah.
It'll be the night before if they're in our time zone. So they still can
panic. Yeah.
The problem is with the new, post-pandemic policies, the stores are not open right now for you. So you got to get there first thing in the morning and it's going to be all the flowers that are picked over, smashed.
Well, unfortunately, flowers are blooming right now that shouldn't be, like tulips and daffodils. We were talking about that a minute ago.
Here's my recommendation. If you have somebody who's really important to you, the number one gift you want to give them is those little chalky hearts. That says
the antacids, yeah.
Ugh, those are worse than vitamins.
What makes you feel more romantic than government and security news?
Do we have the nonsense story about the CGI on-screen kissing?
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't think I saw that.
It was, movies were shot during the thing, and it's like, an actor was like, that's weird. I totally didn't kiss that actress in the kissing scene for the thing.
And they just, compiled it.
And they apparently just CGI'd it because apparently the union was like, no physical contact during, whatever it was, whatever they were shooting because of the thing.
That sounds like somebody's been sleeping on adding their articles to the list.
I've been sleeping a lot lately, yes. That's correct.
That seasonal depression hit hard.
Well, unfortunately, we are, when you have the weekly cycle, we record 1 day a week. Some of you don't realize that. And
we don't wear the same outfit 3 days in a row.
You miss.
Speak for yourself.
Often Friday afternoon, something big happens and you miss it all. And by the time you get back around to it, it's kind of stale, but we might as well mention it.
The balloon that we mentioned last week, it was shot down. We kind of mentioned that last week, but yeah, it was shot down.
The balloon story happened. No, because the balloon story happened Friday, and then I think it was either Saturday or Sunday they shot it down.
I think I mentioned that they were planning to shoot it down.
Well, we all anticipated that they would, yeah. Because no way they were just going to let it float out over the Atlantic. They waited till it was over the ocean.
And we collected it.
Yeah, we collected it. We don't know everything about it. Now, by the time you watch this,
we'll probably know everything.
We'll probably know so much more. But for now, not too much.
U.S. officials disclose new details about the balloon's capabilities. Here's what we know. Is this the last article on the balloon, or do we have yet another balloon article?
It's been the hot topic of conversation this week.
Well, we kind of.
Yeah.
So after the balloon happened, we went back in time and we looked at some records. Obviously, somebody panicked. Turns out there's been lots of balloons, and we've known about them, but we haven't known about them. The public was never told about it. Apparently, the sitting president was never told about it. Pretty much nobody was told about it who should have been told. And now we're digging even deeper into the records.
Classified U.S. report highlighted foreign power surveillance with advanced technology using balloons. Now, I don't know if it was in this article because I read a lot about the balloon and the capabilities and blah, blah, blah. And what was going on. There were balloons in the past, but nobody knew. But then some people knew, but then some people decided. And apparently there were a couple people that were not military intelligence people that were trying to say, hey, there's some unidentified aerial phenomenon going on here. And somebody inside the Department of Defense thought that was a UFO crank, when in fact it was these balloons.
I mean, technically it was a UFO, unidentified flying object.
But apparently there's a stigma with those, and we don't investigate those or take them seriously necessarily.
Now that's a very, that's a rose-colored glasses way of looking at it. I think the scarier way of looking at it, which, let's go back in history, is the scarier way not almost always the way that it is. General Milley, it's Milley, not Molly, right?
I think so.
Was on record saying, China is not our enemy. And he would have been the man to make the decision about whether or not we shine a light.
There may have been some money that changed hands there. Are you saying that?
I'm not saying that. I'm asking you to draw your own conclusions based on historical precedent. And obviously this was already happening, but boy, has this supercharged the anti-China effort.
U.S. aims to curtail technology investment in China. Once again, Tim Cook knew about this ahead of time. Remember when we reported he was moving a bunch of stuff out of China to the Philippines? Just as a precaution. They're like a year ahead of the game here. How is that possible?
You think he got a memo on the balloon?
Yeah, I think he got a memo.
So this, obviously we're already doing this with the chips and stuff. Last week we talked about, we moved down into not just the higher end chips, but even stuff like, the low level controllers and stuff like that. Like, no, you will do nothing with China. This takes it even further of even bond funds and investment companies, and even we're pushing overseas countries. It's like, no, you will not invest either. No one will invest in China.
There's a dimension of this that many of you may not be considering, which is also Hong Kong. There were some interesting things around manufacture in China prior to the events of Hong Kong the last couple of years. And so a lot of the American companies also seeing the writing on the wall, move stuff from China to Hong Kong. But then with China moving into Hong Kong, that sort of nullified that. And so like having PCBs made in China and then populated with soldered components and stuff in Hong Kong, that solved a lot of like security issues and that sort of thing. Because if somebody in China changed the PCB in a subtle way, the people in Hong Kong would probably let you know. That's not really the case anymore. And that's also the type of investment being curtailed by this. So if you're doing business in an ongoing way, that's also frowned upon and probably outlawed soon if the trajectory continues, which is crazy.
It's annoying that it's taken them this long to be like, maybe having everything outsourced to another country was a national security concern.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah,
Think about how many years of suffering there has been in like the interior of the country where like everything was based around manufacturing and then all that went overseas and everyone was like, oh, it's fine, it's cheaper. And now
that was old man Clinton.
Yeah.
He gave us this rotten egg. And the State of the Union happened. There was a bit of a balloon-shaped shadow over it. But clearly, the speechwriters didn't have much time to pivot. They had another topic to talk about during the State of the Union.
Biden rallies against big tech in State of the Union address. The president called for stricter privacy protections and for Congress to strengthen U.S. antitrust law. I think they might be too big to antitrust.
I mean, it's fair. We should do that, but the cat's kind of out of the bag, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, literally, these companies are already so large that they're intractable. I mean, if we're going to bail out mortgage companies, we've already lost. There is nothing that we can do short of supplanting those technology companies with new, worse technology companies.
Well, the FTC got the memo, and they're ready.
Amazon reportedly facing FTC antitrust investigation.
No other details.
Only 20 years late.
I mean, we can guess what these antitrust arguments are because we've seen them from every European country on the planet, but yeah.
It's pretty crazy when the FTC wakes up and says, hey, wait
a minute. Everyone goes to Amazon for stuff.
And this is another story that's going to make you take a hate nap.
And this was supposed to be, the amazing thing here is like, you would see this and it's like, well, we've seen it before, but this was supposed to be, it's like, no, this time we're not doing that again. We're doing the real map this time and don't screw around. You will not screw around with this map. And they're like, of course we won't. Why would we ever do that? Why would you accuse us of that? We wouldn't do it.
Comcast gave false map data to the FCC and didn't admit it until Ars Technica got involved. So Ars Technica, all they did was they went to the Comcast website and they plugged in addresses to see if Comcast said, yes, we serve that address. And they found a bunch of addresses that the website said, no, we don't serve there. And the FCC map data says, oh, yes, they do. And so they found a telecom engineer. Imagine that, a telecom engineer probably even watches this program. That type of person shows up, checks the FCC website, and it says, that's weird. Comcast says they serve my address. They don't. Why would Comcast lie about that? To get federal money.
Which is what they've always been doing. Which is why this whole new push is pointless as long as we let them be the ones that report it.
As much as we report on how easy it is for the Department of Justice to subpoena business records, why doesn't the Department of Justice or the FCC just subpoena the database that's powering the website? And it's like, under penalty of perjury, this is the database that is powering the website. And they can just take that with their own technical people and plug that into the FCC website. And then it'll be really easy to craft a select statement to find out how many exactly addresses are in the one database, but not the other. And that will tell us how egregiously that they're lying. And it's going to be very egregious.
They would fight to the death not to give up that data.
Yeah.
And they would argue that it's a trade secret and they would win.
It's literally criminal what they're doing.
And if you're wondering how do they keep getting away with this, it's obvious. It's because money changes hands, deals are made. Some people benefit from screwing everybody.
This Vice article is amazing, disgusting. New York City scraps co-op internet and public housing so big telecom can move in. So picture this. You work for a telecommunications company in New York City, and the working conditions are awful, and you go on strike. And why do you go on strike? It's because subscribers are paying an obscene amount of money. You aren't making a lot of money. And you look around and you say, gosh, if I just run the wires and have a little community-led co-op, our life would be better, the internet would be better, people would have better service, and it would cost way less. And that's exactly what they did. But then New York City is saying, hey, for people that are in city housing, why don't we just have Charter do it? Because they can do it cheaper. And it's like, this is free service. Not only that, all the people that are in this housing have been Charter customers before. And they said, no, this is not going to end well because Charter's a literally awful company. We really like the co-op doing these things. But, you know, the mayor is, the article paints the picture of the mayor being behind all of this. But it's insane. It's literally insane.
Mayor probably being paid to be behind it.
I get why Louis Rossmann complains about corruption in New York, because this is an excellent chronicle of something that is obviously corrupt to a non-New Yorker. And it's like, why is this a complicated situation? Anybody with brain one could look at this and say, something ain't right.
The other big thing that the government has for a while been ready to pull the trigger on, they were just waiting for that big catastrophe. FTX was that catastrophe. It is crypto. And they were warming up to it, but that changed literally overnight. And now it seems the government is back to hating everything about crypto.
Coinbase's CEO cites rumors, quote unquote, that the SEC may ban crypto staking for retail customers because that's a security, they say, and people shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's just madness.
So the argument was this is bad for the environment. So the crypto people are like, okay, let's go to a staking method. Then it won't be as bad for the environment. And then the government was like, that's a security. You will be banned.
You followed into our trap.
We control the money, and we control more than just the money. Do we control energy on a global scale by any cost?
What an amazing transition. This is Seymour Hersh's Substack, How America Took Out the Nord Stream Pipeline. Now, Seymour Hersh, if you're not familiar, he's actually a really accomplished journalist.
Ex-New York Times, Pulitzer winner.
He's gotten a little sketchy the last few years. I don't know if I agree with his assessment.
I think we have every reason to do this. I don't know if I believe his account.
Do you remember when Biden said, if Russia invades Ukraine, we will stop the Nord Stream pipeline? And the reporter was like, how are you going to do that? You're not involved. And he said, we will stop it.
I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I don't know if I believe his particular account of things.
Why?
Because he has one source and he won't name it.
Because that would get that guy killed immediately.
But he sits here and goes into detail about all these meetings, and they definitely occurred, and this is exactly what was said. And it's like, well, that's going to narrow down who it is anyway.
I mean, it's very plausible, but I think a more interesting thing is going to come out of this story in that a lot of the big tech platforms and things like that will suppress it. It's
Reuters already covered it.
Well, I mean, but the big tech platforms only want to cover it in a very specific way. If you look at other things that reference this post, a lot of them are really, really sort of straw man arguments against Hersh. And like, there is, I mean, I don't really find his account of the whole bin Laden thing credible, but maybe, I don't know. Historically, there's stuff even in this article that, what is it? Stoltenberg did something or other with some other group, but they would have been
in high school at the time, and it's like, I
don't know.
So yeah, like his end conclusion, I could definitely see the U.S. doing it, but not for the reasons this guy describes.
I don't know. I'd say based on the last 2.5 minutes, the disinformation campaign has been quite successful.
You just want to believe what you want to believe.
What if he's been X-filed?
What does that have to do with it? I don't care if we blew it up. That's bad. I don't want that.
Yeah.
What if he's been X-filed? He's like Mulder.
You like conspiracies, though.
Well, no.
I think that's a conspiracy.
Like the smoking guy is like feeding Mulder some good information and some bad information, and this guy's Mulder. Maybe, I don't know.
No.
I would be that guy. They would feed me some truth and some lies and be like, I don't know what's real anymore, and that would be a very effective.
I find the most effective filter is the K Bono filter. Who else benefits from this?
Yeah.
Right. That's why I think it's credible that we did it, but.
And we have, this is not directly tech related, but it kind of is because, as we've mentioned in the past, in order to have technology, you need electricity. And in order to create electricity, You got to have water. And in order
Humans
to
need
have
water to live.
data centers, lots of other things, you got to have that water. And oh boy, are we running out.
Western states that rely on the Colorado River fail to reach agreement for cutting consumption. Why do we need to cut consumption? It's because there's a lot of water that's not making it down the Colorado River anymore.
We have had some incredible rain this season, which is great. But even if we had seasons like that for many years in a row, it still would not refill all of the reservoirs we need.
Aren't we running at like a 10-year deficit at this point?
Yes.
That's disconcerting.
Yeah, and considering this year's going to be an El Nino event, it'll probably be a little bit warmer, which means more evaporation. People are just cruising, not paying attention.
And yet we keep building new housing developments
Yeah.
in these states. We keep bringing in more and more people. Gosh, I wish we wouldn't. Maybe the answer is to not bring in as many humans and maybe some extraterrestrials. Move them in there. I bet they would come up with some really fun ways to get water.
As a U.S. Navy fighter pilot, I witnessed unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Congress must reveal the truth to the American people. This is from thehill.com. And this is also really interesting because those balloons that we talked about,
Those are UFOs.
and they went into file 13 the first couple times that happened. The pilots that reported those that turned out to be balloons, not unlike the one that we just shot down, were the same kind of stuff. And, people got a hard time for trying to report it and classify it and, sort of run it up the chain.
He claims that he's talked to other pilots and he says that, there's the stigma. They don't really talk about it, but literally every time they go up, the skies are apparently just full of the unknown. But they report it and they get sort of smacked down and they're like, okay, I won't do that again. But now that he's out, he said we got to do something about this because clearly it's not aliens this time. It's something we should have looked at. But
Before now, like 10 years ago.
Now think about this and think about Bigfoot.
what country do you think is behind Bigfoot?
Tibet.
that
It's the
right?
Yeti. They sent the Yeti here.
Bigfoot is a UFO operator. That would be amazing.
Now here in the U.S., we got the HIPAA laws, which is, it's so that you don't have to worry about your medical information being spread around, because that's really private and it could really affect you if other people know things about your medical situation. And in the last couple of years, we kind of saw that just thrown to the side. People were allowed to ask about one very specific kind of medical record that you had with impunity, which should have been illegal and was clearly the start of the slippery slope.
Little known Maryland law requires people with sleep apnea to report diagnosis to driving authorities. Why? Because you could just fall asleep at the wheel.
Well, they argue that if you are severely sleep deprived, as people with severe sleep apnea often are, you would be impaired behind the wheel of the vehicle.
But the thing about it is, this guy did not tell the DMV about that.
Yeah.
He didn't tell anybody about it. And then he got a letter or something, and he was like, wait, how do you know this? And the answer was, we're not going to tell you that.
That's the problem.
It was clearly the doctor or the medical facility or whatever.
Something, yeah.
And there's
gets
clearly
reported.
a reporting mechanism, but we're not allowed to know about it.
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't have a problem with them requiring you to report certain things. Like, I have to have a mark on my license that's like, this person is blind. If she doesn't have contacts or glasses in, she should not be behind the wheel of a vehicle.
They literally won't pay your eye doctor's insurance claims unless they get a copy of your retina, which is insane.
Oh, that healthcare industry. It just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, you should, it's fine if they just want you to tell them, but like, why just force it? But that's the world we live in now.
Force it surreptitiously. That's
Yeah.
the danger.
And we've been hearing a lot more about spy applications. We got those Israeli companies that are getting a lot of heat because it turned out everybody in Europe and the government was being spied on. But there's another level to that, the pleb level, that until now has not really gotten much attention.
Stalkerware maker fined $410,000 and compelled to notify victims. This is from the EFF. So the application, if it's still installed anywhere, is supposed to pop up and say, hey, by the way, I'm installed. I'm just monitoring everything. Because it turns out that most people that were using this software were using it without the consent or notification to the people that were affected.
I think that was part of the feature list, right?
Yeah.
Undetectable. Unfortunately, that is only in New York right now. Probably the other states will pick up on that, don't you think? kind of a no-brainer, but it is government, so who knows? And Utah, oh boy, I wish we should do a counter. Like, it has been X days since
It would always just be a 0.
free speech was trampled for the children.
Larry Magid, Magid, I don't know how you say that name. Utah bill threatens internet security for everybody. Once again, legislation masquerading under the guise of safety could erode freedom and privacy. Once again, we have a law written by people that don't understand how the technology even works.
So the idea here, just like the old porn laws, is that everybody to use social media, which they included YouTube in that as well. I was sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't affect me. Wait a minute, YouTube.
Yeah.
You have to put ID on file. So they got to copy your driver's license, basically, to prove that you are who you say you are and that you are as old as you say you are. And everybody would have to do it.
My thing with that is, like, do they not understand? I guess everyone who has access to an account would have to do that, because, like, for our YouTube channel, all 3 of us can access it. Would it be okay if it was just one person's license, or do we all need to submit it?
That's probably not even allowed in the terms of service.
Yeah, they probably have no idea. No, because YouTube provides, like, a way for you to have multiple people log in.
They would want us to use our individual accounts and get designated as an administrator. So there's a way to do that. Which is,
They'd have to rewrite everything to make that work so that the licenses and stuff will work.
But more importantly, it means that all these tech companies would have a database
Right.
that's going to get leaked.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
Or in the case of California, the DMV just sells their database. I wonder
for the right price.
I wonder if anybody can buy Maryland's database and figure out people's medical information from that. That might spur some federal agency into action, because then your medical information was in the DMV database.
Do you think it's just a check mark, or is it like the full file? Like, this person does have sleep apnea, or does it have everything listed?
Oh, there's probably several fields, right?
Yeah.
Just,
Oh, yeah. Like vision impairment would be one.
epilepsy
Yeah.
is one. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of them. Probably, questioning the government,
Yeah.
mental disability.
Yeah. I just assume that I'm on a list somewhere.
And the SEC has been striking out against the crypto companies, and it scored a win here.
Kraken agreed to shutter U.S. crypto staking operations to settle SEC charges. Well, that fits with the earlier story about the SEC wanting to do away with all forms of staking.
Is Ethereum next?
Hmm.
And over in the UK, they just busted another locked down crypto phone ring, and they infiltrated it, and they monitored it, and they arrested a ton of people. But that's not enough for them. They want to go even further.
UK proposes making the sale and possession of encrypted phones illegal. Never let a crisis go to waste. And or, an upbeat, it's like, oh, we busted a drug ring. Let's also make encrypted phones illegal. But that would be bad.
These phones were marketed, as we've learned, as criminal phones. Like, they weren't.
Are you looking to do crime?
Basically. Yeah, basically. But the way this is worded, it wouldn't just stop that. It would stop any kind of encrypted communication based on a phone. So, not great.
Every week, I'm just like, man, I should just disappear into the mountains and never
You can't.
come back.
It's
Yeah.
not possible anymore. Even the mountains got cameras now because you got the fire cameras. And the Brits are also racing headlong into dystopia as they get their digital currency. It looks like they might be the first, unless we get on the ball.
Britcoin digital currency could be in use by the end of the decade. I love the name Britcoin. That's amazing.
They've officially announced it will not be called Britcoin.
Oh, it'll be, what is it, McBoatface or whatever?
Coin face. And this is a terrible sort because this one should have come up in front of the other one.
European police arrest 42 after cracking a covert application.
So this was the app that prompted the proposed ban on encrypted phone services. And
So I have a question for you Europeans. If the police had to go through some amount of work to crack into this encrypted phone network, does that imply that they don't really have to do that with things that are not the encrypted phone network?
yeah, they just call them up. Yeah, we've seen so many examples of that.
So you got your end-to-end encrypted Apple phone, and it's apparently not just anybody can walk in there and
you got to think if they found, like hundreds of people using this thing, there's got to be tens of thousands using the iPhone for crime, right?
yeah.
Maybe not as sophisticated.
Isn't that interesting?
Are crime rings going to have to start communicating only in emojis?
I'm not sure what the best way would be. The problem is you have to let the other person in on the scheme.
Right.
And that there's always
You
going
need
to
a
be,
decoder ring to understand.
but there's always going to be a Fed
Yeah.
on the other end at some point. You don't know who to trust because,
You're in a crime ring. Yeah.
well, you could probably trust it if it was just the criminals. But once the government gets in there, you can't trust anybody. And politicians in Europe are finding out, shockingly, that number one, no one thinks they do a good job. Number two, no one likes them. And number three, no one wants them anywhere near real business because they are utter failures at everything. So what are you going to do with these poor fellas?
Medals for MPs among ideas to attract fresh talent to Parliament. How about for attracting fresh talent to Parliament? You don't screw up. Watch this program. It's like, oh, should we do this really horribly idealistic thing that has no practical way of being implemented? Oh, yes.
I'll give you another scenario here. The problem is when they come out of Parliament, they don't have job skills because they don't do anything and they can't do anything. They're failures at everything. That's how they got into politics. So maybe we should be electing people who can already do something. And then they won't have to worry about that because they'll already have a skill. And then when they're done, they can go back to using that skill. Imagine that world.
The thing is none of them are ever done, right? They always stay in politics forever.
But some of them are leaving and they point out, it's like, I can't get a job. Everybody laughs at me. And the French are the latest to attack the talk.
French Senate to open commission of inquiry into TikTok. They've noticed their friends in the European Union looking around and saying, gosh, there's some alarming things here coming out of this. Maybe we should look into that.
Looking forward to the French riots, whichever way it goes, really.
The French people seem to have inadvertently summoned a balloon over their capital.
I bet there's plenty. And the Bitcoin lawsuits continue. This is like not the new Bitcoin lawsuits about the collapse. No, this is the original Bitcoin lawsuits about who owns it all.
Craig Wright loses a Bitcoin copyright claim. The computer scientist asserted that the forks, like Bitcoin Cash, violate his intellectual property rights. But it's dubious if he's got any stake in Bitcoin at all.
Yeah, if he was the creator of Bitcoin, isn't what he's doing now completely against the original? Yes. Did he just change his mind over like, complete 180? I didn't think that at the time.
Oops.
And so this is a paywall alternative because the original story here pointed out that chip making doesn't work with this.
Right.
So the UK and the EU in general, they're like, hey, we got to bring chips. We got to do chips here. You can't if you do this.
EU considers ban on quote unquote forever chemicals or just search for alternatives. Yeah, well, got some bad news about not just chip making, a lot of manufacturing.
Yeah, medical equipment, that kind of thing. There are certain things that single-use plastics are just necessary for, though I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to try to look for alternatives where we can.
Kentucky, Alabama, parts of Tennessee, and somewhere else are also some of the friendliest places for dealing with material like cadmium. And
friendliest meaning you can just dump it in a river and nobody cares.
Yeah, we have
arsenic.
Screw those hillbillies.
We have the Friends of Coal program.
Yeah.
They've got the Friends of Cadmium program.
What's a little bit of radioactivity between friends? There was somebody that pointed out, Germany's gone all anti-coal and anti-everything. And they pointed out that a lot of their subway stations have radioactive tile because they did the uranium. You remember back in the day when they would do uranium plates and things? Yeah. They have uranium glazed tile, and so there's a fair bit of radioactivity that comes off of from the mass transit system.
Yeah, and that really backfired on them because somebody blew up a pipeline. We don't know who.
Probably us, but we don't have any definitive proof yet.
And if there's one thing that you can depend on, like sun rises in the east and water is wet, Tim Cook will do whatever the Communist Party tells him to do.
Apple pulled a Damus, as in Nostr's Damus, from the App Store in China after a ridiculous government claim. So this is an open source, decentralized Twitter. That's all it is.
It's not, well, it's like, it's more like RSS.
Yeah.
It's more like Usenet with key pairs. And China took one look at that and they were like, nope, not here.
Do you think they invite Tim Cook to like parties and stuff just to watch him do like backflips and stuff? Do the worm, and he just gets on the floor immediately.
They're making him do like college hazing type stuff.
Seems likely.
Tim Cook comes into the room and like the top brass of the CCP come in, they've all got paddles.
Please don't ban us.
And China is used to making big demands, and they don't really care if those demands are outrageous. They do them anyway.
China wants its downed spy aircraft back. Oh, inflammatory headline, saying it does not belong to the U.S.
Let's do a timeline of first it was that's not ours. Then it was it's just a weather balloon.
Civilian
I don't know
weather balloon.
Yeah, civilian. I don't know why you're freaking out. And now it's give us back our aircraft.
I don't know. I really want to see a detailed analysis of the hardware that they found, but I'll probably never see that.
Now, the Chinese apps, we don't have them here. We might if we didn't crack down on them, but
TikTok.
even well, we got TikTok, but these are a little more hands-on than TikTok. But in India, they did not have the same curbs, and oh boy, is it costing them.
Chinese influence and loan collection practices are reasons for India's crackdown on lending firms. So this was a way to sort of get, cultural control, because you could do microloans with these apps for microloans, but then Chinese people would sort of break out and do things with them. And you say that we don't have these apps, but there were a couple apps. The Chinese jail thing that we reported on, that was kind of a thing in Canada. Like there were these things set up in Canada where if you were a Chinese national, like people would come knock on your door and be like, hey, just because you're in Canada doesn't mean we're not watching. We see you. I mean, that would be unsettling, right? And some of the tracking and that sort of thing was done through some apps that were set up that those people would be likely to download.
Be careful who you borrow money from.
Yeah.
Be careful what app you borrow money from. Maybe just don't borrow money.
If you
Maybe
can,
be a saver. And Pakistan has been having a row with Wikipedia. It had to do with what they described as some sort of sacrilege that was posted. I don't remember exactly what it was. Do you? Yeah, it was.
It could be anything because people can change the articles.
It was fairly benign. I remember looking it up and being like, "Oh, really that?" But no, they were serious about it, and it looks like that cooler heads maybe have prevailed.
Wikipedia unblocked in Pakistan after Prime Minister's intervention. The Prime Minister said, it's Wikipedia. Come on. It's making us look bad on the world stage."
He actually has a paper due, and he's like, I really need some sources to put in my paper.
And a rare headline out of South America, I had to do a whole new section in the source.
Just for that.
Just for little old Colombia, because they have done a first with ChatGPT.
A judge just used ChatGPT to make a court decision.
Not feeling real positive about it.
It didn't make...
It didn't make the decision per se. I think he used it to like write out his thoughts, maybe.
He asked it some questions.
Yeah.
And like talking about, is an autistic minor exonerated from paying fees for their therapies? And has the jurisprudence of the Constitutional Court made favorable decisions in similar cases? So he took ChatGPT's answers to those two questions, didn't vet them, as far as I know, and then made his decision. So bad information could have still...
We're all doomed.
Yeah, that's...
ChatGPT, like, there was somebody that did a similar thing with scientific analysis, and then they looked at all the references and found all the references were just completely fictitious. They were synthesized. It wasn't real.
But also, once, we're going to get some indicator of how they're training, because they're going to be trained on public data, right?
Yeah.
You can't have a private database that's going to be enough. And just like SEO,
DeviantArt would like to know your location.
There's going to be whole swaths of the web that are just designed to feed the AI.
Yeah.
With bad
information, right?
Every other sentence is, have you tried Shasta? Shasta is amazing.
It's the internet. It's bots. It's Buy bots for bots.
You
Let's
talking
just
about,
take the human element out of the internet.
you talking about the off-brand soda?
Yeah.
What a weird reference. Does that still exist?
What is the off-brand soda brand?
Shasta?
Yeah. Shasta.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like that's how they come back, is that some, the last person who owns the brand, puts it in the search, and then all of a sudden it comes back. Hey, it worked for Champion, the Kmart brand, and it is back with a passion.
Big K.
Well, the balloon has certainly captured the hearts and minds of people, maybe turned them against China. It was a really unpleasant thing. It's something that we'd been kind of ignoring. And when I say we, I mean world leaders. And it was just right there in everybody's face.
You can't ignore it when people are taking pictures of it on their phones.
And the Aussies are right there in their backyard, and they are really heavily infiltrated, it seems. And now they're reluctantly having to make some admissions.
Australia orders checks on Chinese-made cameras in defense offices. Turns out the lowest bidder might not have been
The best bidder.
the best option
Yeah.
for the defense offices. Oh, no.
I kind of like the idea of having cameras on that, but they're never going to show the people that, right? So why have them? Who's that for? Just the next level up of brass?
Security theater.
That's I'm pretty sure that wasn't that half of the terror aspect in like 1984, and some of that is like you never knew if anyone was behind the monitor actually watching when you went in to do your stuff. It's like, is anybody paying attention to what you're doing?
And if you are from Australia and that infuriates you, I can understand that. And perhaps one way that you could calm down is get yourself some pills.
Australia to allow prescription of MDMA and psilocybin for treatment-resistant mental illness.
Severe depression, I think, was the article's description.
Yeah, the headline just dawned on me. Treatment-resistant mental illnesses. That's yeah.
Maybe the world we live in is so terrible, that's why everyone has a mental illness.
Now, you do have to have a therapist, or I don't know what the
Someone who's
credentials.
monitoring your dosage.
Somebody in mental health has to prescribe that to you, diagnose you with one of those illnesses, prescribe that to you, and you got to be in like a controlled situation while you
Right.
get high. So
To avoid a bad trip.
can't have those bad trips. Those are terrible. And when it comes to online privacy, if you watch this show, apparently you are way ahead of the curve, like light years away, because oh boy, are these answers astonishing.
Americans flunked this test in online privacy, and now you can take it too. Many consumers
Enter your information here.
Many consumers want to control over their personal details, but few understand how online tracking works, a new report says from the University of Pennsylvania. Also, have you considered supporting us on Patreon and Flowplane, where we get your name, address, and credit card details? Thank you.
Store.level1text.com.
We're going to be reporting that to your DMV. So yeah, you can go through the New York Times here. They get all the questions. The questions were really basic. Some of them were a little bit promising. They're, like more than half were on the right side of it, but some of them were astonishingly bad.
We should keep KVMs to London, and the police, the constabulary shows up at your doors. You got a license,
for the KVM. No, it's what was I gonna say? I see a lot of people on Facebook in particular where they're like, my account got hacked again. I don't know how this keeps happening, but then they post like quizzes and like images that ask for personal information constantly, and I'm like, that's how it's happening. Stop posting that stuff.
Well, you're on Facebook in the first place,
Right.
I mean, you've already lost. We've learned that Internet of Things devices, the manufacturers basically don't care about security. They really are just for you to buy, and then in 2 years, you're expected to stop using it because it's garbage. But the problem is ongoing security. How do we deal with that? Well, maybe this will work.
The U.S. NIST unveils a winning encryption algorithm of the IoT data protection contest.
There it is. Behold it. This is a lightweight one because you're expected to have really crappy hardware in that stuff. But supposedly still secure. We'll see.
I really don't think we can make the Internet of Things secure until we separate, like, this is a sensor for this piece of data, and this is a display for this type of data. And then the thing that actually does the computation or actions based on that, that's the thing that can change every 2 years. But when you install your, hot water heater sensor or your water flow sensor or your garage door sensor or whatever, that's designed to be there for 30 years. We just don't have that.
They hate that.
Yeah, they do hate that because they want to make a new sale every time.
I mean, if we had used Ethernet or something for that 30-year standard, it would be 10 megabit Ethernet. Like modern gigabit and 2.5 gigabit switches dubiously even work at 10 megabit, even though it's still the Ethernet standard.
Well, we got to give the register a hand on this one because in the headline, they didn't come out and say it, but they did admit they used the word more because it's not a situation of like China does this and we don't. No, everybody. Every phone maker does this and they do it to a horrible extent. But China is the number one.
Surprise! China's top Android phones collect way more info. Best to revisit the plan to bring home a cheap OnePlus, Xiaomi, Oppo, or Realme handset from your holiday.
We're going to be demonetized because you said China number one.
I'm surprised OnePlus was on this list, given the number of people that are working on their firmware that is, it's a worldwide team, from what I understand.
It's also interesting. They did a variety of, they kept pulling functionality away from the phone. They changed the SIM. They put it on a different network. They basically stripped everything from the phone except for Wi-Fi access, and it was still doing everything it could to get back to Beijing. Not a surprise. And Android, also horribly, horribly insecure. They've taken one tiny step. We talked about this last week. This is official.
Android 14 Preview 1 is out and will officially ban installation of old apps. Google kicks off monthly releases of Android 14 Developer Preview. So if you want to try to install an old buggy app that's known to have a vulnerability that can be used to exfiltrate data, nope.
And we got once in a while, they will catch a prolific hacker. This fella did a very embarrassing, stupid thing to get caught.
Finland's most wanted hacker nabbed in France. Look at him. He looks so angry.
He looks very Finnish, doesn't he?
He was in Paris, though.
So what got him? Well, he posted, he did a ransomware, didn't get paid, and decided to post the material to punish them. Left his home folder in that.
Oops.
Yeah. So the cops were able to connect some dots there and pick him up. You want to double check your archive before you send it. Proofread.
Oh, that was // not dot. Oh no, for the tar command. No.
Now he's
I'm going
in
to prison for 30 years. And you know who should be in prison? Microsoft. Because they just keep forcing themselves into our private places that we don't want them.
Microsoft swears it's not coming for your data with scan for old Office versions. What? This is a Windows update that's looking for Office? What?
If it finds Office 2007, it will get rid of it because that's insecure. And also, you need to pay for the new one.
Yeah. What if it starts doing it with the free Office alternatives too?
Oh my God. It's eventually that's where we're going with this.
And they'll just do it quietly and hope no one notices.
And we had the Tyre, is it Tyre or Tyree? It's Tyre, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Tyre Nichols. Maybe I got that wrong. Anyway, he was beaten to death by cops. And that has sort of tipped us all off to the fact that it's like, wait a minute, but was that a homeowner's camera? No, that was a government run camera. And they are everywhere.
Memphis's Sky Cop cameras couldn't prevent Tyre Nichols' beating death.
But that doesn't mean we're going to stop using them. It means we're going to get more and more and more of them. They're always watching.
Was that the one where the body cam cameras told a very different story than the light post cameras?
They were very good at, what they were saying, what they were screaming had nothing to do with what they were doing. And with the body cam, with all the commotion, you could be like, oh, he's fighting them. But when you saw it from the top down, he was basically limp. And they were just beating him viciously. And if you are a young student who is particularly adept at technology, this might be a fun one for you because you can do whatever you want with that Chromebook that they give you.
Google looking into fix Shimmer, or SH1MMER, exploit that can unenroll Chromebooks. So if you got a corporate Chromebook and it's stolen, it's not really useful. It's pretty locked down, except there's bugs in that, because obviously. So you can exploit the bug, unenroll the Chromebook, and then sell the Chromebook on the used market.
Or use it for your own purposes. Whatever you want to do. That'll be a nice little taxpayer-funded Chromebook for you.
If anybody ever figures out how to do that with Apple laptops, they're going to be able to make a mint.
And I'm sure that the Google engineers are working on fixing that right now. But you know what they're not working on? Security for the ad portion of their site.
Till further notice, think twice before using Google to download software.
You'll be trapped inside of the machine like this person in the stock image.
Over the past month, Google has been outgunned by malvertisers with new tricks. I searched for Rufus the other day, and the first 6 or 7 links were all malware.
You can't ever trust the ads.
No.
Yeah. Well, it was like 3 ads and 3 real links, and it's just like the black hat SEO is winning over the real stuff.
It's almost like it's just a game, and you just pack it full of random keywords and other stuff to make it pop up top.
I'm sure Bard will solve all of that.
Yeah.
With its AI supremacy. And here's an interesting one that came from Ubiquity Hack. Remember the Ubiquity Hack? Well, we now know who was responsible for that, and it's not the usual suspects.
Developer pleads guilty to hacking his own company after pretending to investigate himself.
I love this picture. I think we've had a similar illustration before. I love that it's just like a mysterious figure holding a folder.
I like that the folder is so surprised.
Yeah.
This is the Ubiquity break-in from like 2 or 3 years ago. So, expose some maybe not ideal best practices inside of Ubiquity, but it doesn't appear to not have been an inside job. So
he was using Surfshark VPN, which is hilarious because that's the one all the YouTube channels advertise.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're good or not, but most VPN apps, they got the little checkbox that's like, if you lose VPN access, kill the connection. Do not fall back to the real IP address. Apparently he didn't check that. Or maybe Surfshark doesn't offer that. And his VPN service failed and the real IP got through. And they got him.
Subscribe to Wired to continue reading.
Oh, come on.
You may cancel at any time.
We can still scroll. Oh, this is about Telegram. Yeah. Okay. Telegram is so if you're not going to use the for crime communications things, maybe you're going to use Signal or Telegram. Well, you might want to think twice about that one too.
The Kremlin has entered the chat. It's weird. This is a Wired article about how it's weird the Kremlin seems to know what resistance people inside of Russia are doing that use Telegram, the app. It's almost like the Kremlin has an idea of what's going on inside of Telegram, which is an encrypted application, and it's not supposed to be possible to see what's going on, and yet here they are.
So the way this played out, according to the woman who, was relaying this information, she said that she posted some dissident type stuff, and then at like 4 a.m., there was a banging on her door, and she was like, oh God, I know who that is. I'm going to pretend I'm not here. And she jumped on Telegram to her group, and she was like, they're at my door, but I don't think that they'll break in. They did. And then when they had her in the interrogation room, the detective read all that back to her. And he was like, wow. You know how we knew you were there? It was because of Telegram. They were listening the entire time. Terrifying. And oh boy, these hotels and booking companies, they are some of the absolute worst when it comes to data security.
Mysterious leak of Booking.com reservation data is being used to scam customers, according to Ars Technica, on an ongoing basis.
Now, they have some really, really convincing phishing emails and stuff here. And this is because the Booking.com system lets you email through Booking.com as the hotel. Mm. And somehow all of that has been compromised. So now they're using that as a vector to try and phish you.
PSA, don't click on stuff.
Booking confirmation, confirm, don't do it.
It was all going to Yandex and Russian URL link shorteners and blah, blah, blah. But that could just be somebody using the global conflict to, because...
Profit, yeah.
Oh, your booking is on hold. Contact us. Don't do it. Don't contact them.
Don't even see what the link is.
You can hover, but don't click. It's a respectable 50 minutes.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Woo.
Oh, yeah.
Go get some half-price chocolate later this week.
Krista, please give the males in our audience, which you have to admit is like 99.98%.
Not that high, but it's pretty high.
Give them a hot Valentine's gift that they might not have already thought of.
Oh, like what to get for their spouse or girlfriend?
Exactly. Right? The female perspective.
I mean, it depends on the person.
Well, we're gonna do the generic answer.
My husband got me some Ferrero Rocher the other night.
How many?
Like a big
Did
box.
you eat all of them at the same time?
No, there's still a bunch at the house. They're really good though.
Those are good.
That's a good chocolate. All right, we'll see you
Kind
guys
of
then.
pricey.
Bye. Hello, welcome back to the L1 show. Today's February 15th, and we are doing business and social stories for your enjoyment.
Krista, please give our audience what would be the best course of action if you completely forgot about Valentine's Day.
Apologize and offer to take them out. That next weekend, which is probably better anyway.
Yeah.
Like, never go out the weekend of Valentine's Day.
Well, I think you just hit on it by accident. Say that I know you hate crowds.
Right.
So, surprise, you thought I forgot, but I got reservations for next week.
That's better. It's way better.
Dishonesty is always best.
Yes,
in a
absolutely.
relationship.
Well, I'm just saying, like, not being around 1,000 people, always better.
I've got us a delicious meal of beans and rice.
Dishonesty is always best when you're in a relationship and also when you're the CEO of a giant tech company.
Meta is flattening its workforce and telling high-level managers to transition to a new role or get out. As Mark Zuckerberg Mark Zuckerberg leans into his year of efficiency.
Year of efficiency sounds like marketing speak for year of famine.
Can you imagine? Think about this, right? You are a programmer.
Righto.
And you've got a manager, a meta manager who's been making really bad decisions and making your life miserable. And then you show up on one Monday and the manager's like, hey, I'm one of you guys now. I'm a programmer. Let's get started. Think about that.
I think you would probably immediately go somewhere else, except for, all the major alphabet companies have had like 10,000 layoffs.
Right.
All of them. And didn't Facebook announce that they were going to try to shed like 6,000 or 7,000?
Well, the red bar. Ooh. Breaking news, chat. Breaking news. This has happened since we've been sitting here.
U.S. shoots down second high altitude object. By the time that this comes out, they're going to know what it is. We don't know what it is right now, though.
But that's not the headline we were going to do. We're going to do this headline about Zoom. It's not nearly as exciting.
Zoom to lay off 1,300 employees, or about 15% of its workforce. Remember in the early days of the thing when suddenly Zoom was like 4 billion% larger than it was the day before?
Turns out people don't need it anymore. And there's lots more alternatives that are better.
Teams is not one of them.
Teams is hot garbage.
They're making Teams so much worse.
Yeah.
My messages sometimes don't go through. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you get a message. Sometimes you don't.
I don't understand how they've made glorified IRC so slow and buggy.
Yeah, it's awful. Mine changed randomly to light mode the other night. I was like, okay, I'm blinded now. Thank you.
Are you going to have to pay the corporate upgrade?
I don't know. Maybe.
Ugh. Well, that's not the only company that did pretty well over the last couple of years. And then all of a sudden, things took a real big downturn.
Bob Iger announces 7,000 job cuts at Disney. It signals a significant transformation. Now, spoiler alert, when you read into this didn't really need to happen. Disney is just taking advantage of the situation because profits weren't down. They weren't really on the struggle bus. It wasn't completely terrible, but they do want to trim the fat and be more profitable.
But if you recall, when they were going to start their streaming service, they decided to kind of go scorched earth. They bought up everything they could get their hands on.
They put it all in the Disney vault.
No, they did. They stuffed that Disney vault and they set their price super low to try to pull in the subscribers. It worked, but at what cost?
Disney considering selling films and TV shows to rival outlets. As the authors of books in the Star Wars franchise can attest, that doesn't really mean anything.
That's more renting the films and TV shows.
Yeah, isn't this like a dwarven thing? It's like the dwarfs make you some armor, but then when you die, you're supposed to give it back, and people don't understand that, and it's a source of friction.
I don't think they're waiting for anybody to die.
Yeah. As the Disney Star Wars authors can attest, it's like, they haven't paid my royalties in 10 years.
And some more names. You know, this is the collapse section, if that wasn't already obvious. And one after the other, every big tech company is reporting bad news.
eBay will cut 4% of its workforce as sales decline, which is surprising because usually used marketplaces explode in times of economic.
Love marketplace Craigslist.
So I guess eBay's losing out there because it's too onerous for both sellers and buyers.
I don't ever look at eBay.
Yeah.
For this headline, I'm surprised this number is as small as it is. Because what do they have to offer anymore?
Yahoo to lay off more than 20% of its staff as it shrinks its ad business.
Does it still own Tumblr?
Does Yahoo even have an AI at this point?
20% of its workforce, so it's going to be down to 4 people.
And your precious version control, no matter who you choose, they're all failing.
GitLab to cut 7% of its workforce, or about 130 people, sending its shares down. Oh,
And
I'm sorry, GitLab.
Right after that,
GitHub lays 10% off and goes fully remote. That's a pretty big cost savings. It's like, we don't have offices anymore. You just got to get it done.
they're literally selling the buildings. Yeah. It's like, we're done with that.
Which I'm surprised more places aren't doing, but
their whole business model would make that possible, right? So it makes sense that they would do that. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, our software literally makes this better. Maybe we should try it. And the biggest names, the ones that have held out the longest, they are not immune.
Dell to slash over 6,000 jobs amid quote-unquote uncertain market future. No! This wasn't just sales either. There was a surprising number of cuts across a bunch of departments.
And those companies that were the like infinite banker for the tech companies, that's like, whatever, you got a startup that does mechanical unicorn androids, there's $10 million, just run with it. Well, it turns out that only helps as the line goes up.
SoftBank, the investment company, virtually halts new funding as it contends with persistent losses.
it's almost like just giving people money for vaporware was not a good strategy.
It was WeWork. Remember the office co-working space? It was SoftBank that invested a bunch of money in them, right?
They were deep in the crypto world too.
Yeah, remember when that happened and we reported that, and it was like, SoftBank, don't do that. You're going to lose a bunch of money.
Well, the pandemic happened, and then WeWork suddenly,
And
no one wanted that.
And we were right.
Now this feels like an Onion or a Babylon Bee headline, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, this is real.
3 Arrows Capital founders launch exchange where you can trade 3AC bankruptcy claims.
Kill me.
It's turtles all the way down.
Hey, you know that thing that we failed at, and that's the reason that you're suffering? We have a new thing where you can import your suffering and trade it.
This just seems like gambling with extra steps.
Well, I mean, you can sell bad debt. So, I mean, this is kind of selling bad debt, right? We've monetized the bad debt.
I don't think you should be able to. That's caused us a lot of problems in the past. Remember the mortgage crisis?
We
It
take
will
the good
never
debt
happen again.
and the bad debt, and we just jumble them together so that nobody can ever straighten it out. And then who's going to have the hot potato?
The taxpayers. And we have more and more of the big crypto exchanges are restricting and locking down.
Crypto exchange Binance will suspend U.S. dollar transfers. Aww.
That's only outside the U.S. So if you are not in the U.S., but you still want to transfer in dollars, they're not going to let you do that. It's probably a money laundering type of situation. I'm not sure. And it's time for the big game. Are you guys ready?
It'll have passed, right? Because it's this weekend.
It'll be this weekend, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell me who won. I care deeply about sport.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen. And honestly, most people, well, I don't know about most people. I'd say most normies, they don't really tune in for the football action. They tune in because it's a cultural event and they
Yeah.
want to talk about the commercials. But the commercials might look quite different this year.
For Super Bowl ads this year, crypto is out and booze is in. Oh, man.
Isn't that usually what? I mean, I don't know. It's so
But last
dystopian
year-
that we watch ads for fun.
Last year was like, they called it the Crypto Bowl because the crypto companies snapped up all the advertising. I think it wasn't the Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
like-
that
Yeah.
was.
That's what I was just thinking. Is like, we really need to take Matt Damon in all of his roles and maybe even some deep fakes and put together our own crypto commercial in 2023 with Matt Damon. That's just like the most post-apocalyptic, like his hair's all messed up and he's just like, what have I done?
Why doesn't L1 buy a Super Bowl ad? Oh, we should have done that as a skit. It's
It's,
the L1 Super Bowl ad.
What is it, like 10 million
It's
for
yeah,
30
there's millions
seconds?
of dollars. Yeah.
I don't know if we could scratch that
We could
together.
single-handedly prop up the entire ad industry. What are you talking about?
We're going to need more patrons.
Just a few more to make that happen.
No, I really want to do something now with like it's not anything we could ever put on YouTube, but just some sort of homage to the Matt Damon crypto mistake.
Please buy.
It could
our
be the
crypt-
stuff of meme legends for just a decade or more. Like I'm sure that Matt Damon would see it and just be like, "Oh, what have I done?"
We could just deep fake him, right?
I
That's
don't
what they do now.
I don't think you'd ever see it.
No.
Well, it's been a very, very long time since I've been to a movie theater. I didn't realize that assigned seating was a thing now.
Yeah, you can pick your seat when you go online and like it used to be that was a thing only on really big theaters like IMAX theaters, but now I guess everyone's doing it.
But that sucks because like you never know if you're going to be able to get this. Like there could be empty seats all over, but then someone's right next to you.
Right.
That's terrible. But AMC looked at that situation and they were like, how can we extract more money from our customers by making their experience more miserable?
AMC is about to make paying for theater seats more like booking an airline ticket.
Ugh.
So it's all about visibility. Up front, that is a low visibility zone. That is
Well-
your basic tier.
I mean, you can see it, but you're gonna have your
Right.
neck cricked back the whole time.
And then I guess the prices go up as you go back. And then the middle part, I guess, is the prime zone, right?
Usually, it's been a long time, but I remember doing like ticket booking for an IMAX thing, and you can see like where people have already sat, and almost always the middle section fills up first.
That's the idea is you want to be like half the distance of the space between the two primary speakers or something like that, right? For the
Yeah.
optimal sound experience.
I just kind of like sitting in the very back myself, but I like to sit above everybody else in the theater.
The troublemakers.
Some directors also prescribe what seat you should sit in for their movie, and it's like I think Spielberg is made for like left of middle and 3 seats back or something.
That's so,
So
pompous.
specific, yeah.
What do they say about stealing it and watching it at home?
Ooh, no, we would never condone stealing and/or piracy on this channel.
Well, we got a little update on the Coinbase case. We knew that this was coming, and we knew that the evidence was overwhelming. It seems that this gentleman has accepted that.
Ex-Coinbase manager pleads guilty in insider trading case.
This was where his brother somehow guessed every cryptocurrency that was going to be added to Coinbase.com and front ran them
That's wild.
for short-term trades.
What a lucky guess that was for him.
Amazing. It's like Nancy Pelosi, but better. And Amazon
It's
is...
weird how she's not guilty of any of those types of crimes.
She would never do that.
None of our
Amazon
Congress critters would.
is opening up some new data centers. And as we know, the power grid, a little unreliable, not just from weather, but now people are shooting it. So what can you do?
Power grid worries force Amazon to run Oregon data centers using fuel cells. It's like if we lose power and it can't be fixed for a while, what do we do? Fuel cells. Those cannot go down. The Amazon availability zone cannot go down.
You might not have power for your house or your heat or anything like that, but don't worry, you can still buy stuff on Amazon.
How much does that suck if you live within eyesight?
You can see it, yeah.
And you're cold, your heat's off, you're freezing, and you see those trucks running 24/7.
Nice warm data centers.
That was one of the hot things. Like the whole internet rallied behind that guy that was loading diesel. There was one guy left in a high-rise building with a data center after Katrina in New Orleans. And the entire internet was following the blog of that guy because he's like, yep, I manually brought up some barrels of diesel from the basement to the generators. And it's like, we're going to keep it running. And he was just keeping the data center running. He was just one guy. When the National Guard was coming in, he's like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm keeping this running.
Do you think that the company took notice and appreciated, or do you think that they probably cut him in the last round of employee cuts?
Yeah, he's gone, I'm sure. Whatever happened to that guy?
He became a diesel loading robot. Now, this one was updated, and they explained how all the phones are actually just lying about storage anyway. But I think the premise is still sound here. We don't need this.
Bloatware pushes the Galaxy S23 Android OS to an incredible 60 gigabytes. Updated. It's like, well, okay, there's maybe not as much bloatware as we were saying initially, but it is true that companies like Facebook pay Samsung to preload their app on the phone because people want that.
I think maybe it was someone on the forum, maybe someone on Twitter. Someone said that like TikTok came preloaded on their phone now.
Right.
It's weird too because you can't uninstall it. You can just stop it.
Yeah.
And then it'll restart itself next time you get an update.
You can fix that too, but it's like 2 extra clicks.
It's ridiculous that it's just these things that we're never going to use.
Yeah.
But you get paid. They get paid.
And you could also be that guy that was, you're in the unlucky ones where Facebook is trying to run down your battery to see if anybody notices. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, they did.
And we all know that in the printing world, it's getting to the point where fewer and fewer people need to print things, and things just keep getting worse as they try to extract more and more blood from the people who are left. This one is just astonishing.
The Atlantic has the headline, "My printer is extorting me. Subscriptions to HP's Instant Ink challenge what it means to own our devices." So you can't just buy ink and have a printer. If you don't pay the subscription fee, the printer stops working the moment you stop paying the subscription fee.
This is how everything's going.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just going to be printers. Your fridge might do this eventually.
One guy, with the filters, the water filters,
Yeah.
that's how they do it. One guy tweeted, like, he didn't print very much, but he was on the monthly plan, and he had a giant box of print cartridges. And he was like, I have more, this will last me 5 years, if not more, certainly more than the life of the printer. So I canceled, but now I can't use any of these. Oof. How is the FTC doing nothing here?
You agreed to the terms and conditions when you bought the printer, blah, blah, blah. There are some really nice looking open source printers that do things. And at the office, I'm not letting our Lexmark X, I think they're like X568 DTN printers. I'm not letting them die. It's like, I've got all the Chinese clone parts. There's no chip to the toner. They're not terribly fast, but they're not slow. They're 600 DPI. They can't do complex imaging, but they run Linux. Really incredibly ancient Linux, like Linux 2.0.36 or something.
But for the very basic printing needs this office has, like, that's probably worth its weight in gold.
They won't die.
Yeah.
Almost nobody needs more than basic printing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just put some words.
They
on
can
a page.
scan and copy. They can do color scanning. Can't do color printing.
Well, if you recall, one of the big features that Apple rolled out on some of its products a while back was detecting you falling down and being dead. And they will dispatch emergency workers or try to get you some kind of help if they think that you've had a bit of a tumble. And it took a while, but that is now proving to be a terrible feature.
My watch thinks I'm dead.
Look at this absolute Chad with all his monitors
That's
around
the
him.
911 operator.
Yeah.
That's a kindred spirit.
You may be watching this program right now.
That's my monitor setup.
So this was at a ski resort, and this guy got the call, and it's like, oh, 911, and he called back. I guess they do a call back, and the guy answered it, and he was like, yeah, this is like the 4th time. I'm skiing. I have some abrupt movements during my skiing. I'm a good skier. I'm not hurt. And it turns out that at the ski resort, these 911 operators had just been inundated the entire week with all these false reports.
And that's terrible too, because skiing and snowboarding, you can't actually have a real accident, and now
And
they're
time
going to
would
be
be
like,
of the essence.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time to get to you.
wow.
Now, we talked a little bit about the, was it Comcast faking the
Yep.
map again? And we learned about, like that they had definitely done it. But why would they do it? Well, here's a beautiful little case study. And once again, it's the secret came out because of the stupidity of the ISP.
ISP admits lying to the FCC about the size of its network to block funds that were going to rivals. The ISP gave the FCC false coverage information to prevent others from getting grants.
Name and shame. Who's the ISP?
It's not one you've heard of. It's a smaller one.
We should make sure that they're mentioned.
You summarize and I'll find it.
City of Growells. So this is another one of those things where the ISP provides the FCC a different database than the one that it uses for its actual service database. Smart way communication.
Shamed. Named and shamed.
Wait. That might be the good guy.
Oh.
I don't know. Read the article. Use the link.
That we provide in the one tab.
Oh, Jefferson County Cable.
Was that the name? They should have put it in the headline, but
so
maybe it
what?
didn't fit.
This guy emailed them as a competitor, but they thought he was a consumer. So they admitted to their consumers. I don't know why they would do that. They were like, "Oh yeah, we know that your name is not on that list, or your address is not on that list. But if we didn't pretend that it was, then they would give money to that other company, which is the company this guy runs." So they just outed themselves in an email.
I was like, oh, by the way.
I'm sure the FCC will do nothing.
Yeah, if he was actually just a customer, like, do you have a moment when you read that and you're like, it's kind of messed up?
Yeah, even you should never admit that to anybody.
Yeah.
I guess that was sort of be like, yeah, we did that, but we have a good reason why. It's like, bro, that's not a good reason. That's one of the worst reasons I've ever
Cool
heard.
motive, still a crime.
And Amazon, they're having a tough time. Everybody is, but they finally caught a little bit of a break here.
The FCC approves Amazon's satellite broadband plan over SpaceX's objections. Amazon's going to launch 3,200 satellites.
That's a lot of satellites.
Astronomers everywhere cry a little bit because the night sky just got that much harder to look at.
Musk wanted to limit them to 578. How many does SpaceX have right now?
Probably
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
It's more. Yeah.
Is it tens of thousands? It's an ungodly number.
It's more than 500.
Yeah.
Right.
And the UK Apple workers are following suit for all of the American companies. They're getting together.
UK Apple Store workers have signed their first union contract. And because the UK is not in the EU anymore, Apple's probably going to just shrug this off.
This is, I don't know the brass tacks here. I imagine you're still losing a lot to entropy, but this seems like such a good idea. I can't believe that it's actually happening. What a great thing to actually do with our waste.
EV batteries getting a second life on the California power grid.
excellent.
So if you get a battery pack, your Tesla battery pack, it's not holding a charge anymore. It's not doing very good. It's probably just a couple of subcomponents in the battery pack that are causing problems. You can rip it apart and use it in something like this, where it doesn't matter how much space it takes up. Hell, you could just leave the bad ones in the pack and just solder around them, and it's fine. And that's exactly what California is doing.
And they're hooking up to solar so that when the grid is taxed, it can pull from that.
It doesn't even really matter that it's taking up so much room or that the battery packs only hold a half charge cumulatively. They're not being charged and discharged constantly the way that they would be in a car. And they're not near anything that'll catch on fire.
It's a net positive. What a good, happy story.
I'm sure somebody will legislate against it.
Yeah, or someone in the comments will be like, actually, this other thing happened. And it's like, oh.
You think Elon Musk would be against that?
Yeah, just because of, brand recognition or something.
It'll probably be some weird convoluted deal where he's still responsible for the waste after another 10 years.
Now you added this one?
Yeah.
And this is from January 30. There's a reason I never added it. It's the battery rule.
Yeah, I thought I read this and I was like, this sounds like a nothing burger, but I want to hear what you guys think about it.
But I would love it.
Yeah.
It would be great. Imagine not having fans in your computers anymore.
Yeah, just this
How
stuff.
fantastic would that be?
Hydrogel brings cooling relief to electronics. This gel absorbs moisture from air to cool electronics passively.
Just imagine shoving that in a PC case, like flubber.
So you coat your heatsink with that.
Yeah.
And then that is enough cooling. I probably would not do a 40 series GPU.
You only get 10 minutes of gaming, 30 minutes to rest.
But yeah, that would be fantastic. Do you think the conference room seating at Noxua are like, they go to a point because of the puckering?
I don't think they're worried about it. I think they read the article and then they were
This isn't great yet.
Yeah, that's like the magic batteries. Keep making fans.
But maybe in like 5 or 10 years, it'll be a thing. We'll
And
be doing videos about it on this channel.
it seems like as people get laid off, they're not as able to negotiate, and that's maybe why we're getting all the unionization and stuff. But there is one aspect that tech workers will draw the line at, it seems.
YouTube contractors to strike over forced return to the office. So does that mean that the crypto scammer comments aren't going away anytime soon?
Oh yeah,
These
you
guys-
won. You haven't won. We're never going to contact you for over a YouTube comment.
These guys were hired during the situation, so they've never been in an office. They were hired as remote workers, but then YouTube was like, "Nah, we're all going back."
Maybe you're going back. We're not.
And the Microsoft Store, everybody hates that, right?
Oh,
I mean, when it comes to app stores,
it's so bad.
it's solidly at the rear of the pack.
I don't think anybody at Microsoft is actually using the store for anything. It's like, oh, this is a convenient way to install applications. Have you used it? It's not. No.
It's terrible, but they took a look at it and they said, you know what? There's room to make this worse.
The newest feature in the Microsoft Store is more ads. The App Store ads on other platforms offer many benefits to devs, but few for users.
So you look up an app and here's all these ads instead. Great.
I did a video on how bad the start menu was, and by extension, the Microsoft Store in November of 2021. And I was revisiting some of the stuff with that. Just search for Firefox on the Microsoft App Store. Just search for Firefox. You reasonably install the Firefox browser and not have 17 links for scams.
You got to go to the domain. You gotta go
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
getfirefox.com. You cannot trust
Yeah.
any search results.
It is horrifying. And like Mozilla probably doesn't even care. Like Mozilla is like, there's not enough people using the App Store that we need to complain about guide for Firefox.
There's not enough people using Firefox.
I use Firefox.
We really need Firefox to survive and do well. We can't have this Chrome hegemony.
I use it too, but its market share is almost
Small.
non-existent.
Yeah.
Well, we've been following the Netflix password sharing saga, and it turns out they rolled it out in, was it
Canada.
Europe? Oh, Canada, right.
Canada.
But not the U.S. They're still a little gun shy about how the U.S. customers, but just like the Chinese, they may have floated a little trial balloon.
Netflix says the strict new password sharing rules were posted in error. Well, I've almost got my Jellyfin server set up for Mom, so yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to be looking to not use Netflix anymore.
Does the Internet Archive have TV shows like Green Acres? Can I just mirror them somehow?
Amazon Prime's got a lot of that.
I wonder if I need to see if there's a utility to mirror that stuff off Amazon Prime. I would totally subscribe to Amazon Prime for a few months to mirror those ancient TV shows.
You're not a Prime customer?
No, I mean, well, no, I guess I am. Yeah, I didn't. Even,
Good luck explaining.
I've never looked at Amazon Prime for the videos.
I mean, it's second tier stuff, but if you like that older stuff,
She will. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing with Amazon Prime too, at least with some of their stuff, is like you have to have a secondary subscription to get some of it, which is annoying. Or you have to rent it.
yeah, the rental stuff. But
Yeah.
there is you can filter just to only included with Prime. So, and Activision, boy, they are having a tough couple of years. Nothing is going their way. It doesn't look like their Microsoft merger is going to happen, and their bad behavior leading up to that seems to have burned every other bridge.
Activision CEO Bobby Kotick says that Sony won't return our phone calls.
I've been calling and calling, babe, pick up, babe.
I think that's probably a blessing rather than a curse, because Sony's not exactly like super amazing either.
Yeah, but you need them to run your games on their console.
Nah.
You want to have an open line of communication there. And when it comes to search, it seems like it's all going to be AI at this point, right? But there is some more traditional searching still being developed.
GitHub claims source code search engine is a game changer. grep isn't good enough. Try Blackbird.
It's a really fast way to search all that code.
Why Blackbird?
Maybe they're a big Beatles fan.
Or they were playing. That was one of the really awesome cards in Inscription.
I bet that's it.
Yeah, that
Wait.
little tiny game.
Let's see. Most popular rock band to ever exist or indie deck builder? Got to be the second one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for a dev team, that's maybe not the craziest thing in the world.
Oh, I should have sorted this one differently.
Oops.
Netflix's password sharing crackdown hits Canada, but not the U.S. yet. So Netflix's definition of a household is sort of interesting, and not going to work out for. There are older people that live in an RV, and it would seem that doesn't really count. Although I think that the rollout in Canada is also misunderstood. I think that somebody inside Netflix wanted you to just constantly log in and out of your account, so that only one login would be active at a time, per IP address, which would maybe work for the elderly RVers, but you couldn't have 2 accounts logged in at the same time from different locations, which is weird because if, I don't know, you and your spouse want to watch 2 different Netflix shows at the same time, that's one of the more expensive tiers on Amazon. Or like if your kids are watching something and you're watching something and your spouse is watching something, I think you pay extra for that versus like just the one stream. But you can't do that from more than one physical location, which is bananas.
And you have to reestablish that every so often.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a different location.
What if your kids are watching theirs on like their mobile phone or something?
You tell them to stop.
Yeah, because they're burning all their data, I guess. Yeah.
This was clearly, I dragged one tab one too far. And it was a catastrophe because we had a perfect sort with those 2 together and then these 2 Activisions together.
Whoops.
And it's totally broken.
Microsoft's Activision deal hurts gamers, UK Watchdog says.
Anybody with half a brain would see that, but
Oh, well, this was UK government. So
Yeah.
exactly half a brain.
Do we? Is the story about Bing, the Bing thing next? Because I have a perfect transition.
That might be AI.
That's fine.
Well, this is another Microsoft story. And this is what we were talking about. Oh, there's a
there's an
fire.
emergency. Yeah.
They're letting us know that things are really terrible and that the merger talk is all on fire.
The fire is at Microsoft. And it's the Teams software.
Microsoft will wipe free Teams business users' data if they don't upgrade to a paid tier. Oh, didn't see that one coming. It's fine.
You'd be better off without it.
It's like they want kind of a lot for it too, like $13 a month. $13 a month
For that buggy piece of crap.
We had better see the speed and the bugs fixed immediately.
No. They don't consider those bugs. Those are just fun little quirks. And it seems that more and more people are chipping away at Apple's rule. It does seem like the antitrust stuff is coming. Will that destroy the walled garden? And when the walled garden is gone, will then the browser itself fall?
Mozilla, like Google, is looking ahead to the end of Apple's WebKit rule.
Please.
We've talked about this, or we've mentioned this a couple of times over the last 6 months, and a lot of people are always surprised to learn that when you have a web browser on iOS, it's just a skin, it's a wrapping of Safari. You can't actually deploy your own rendering engine because Apple is that handsy with their platform. And that may be coming to an end, and so Mozilla is working on their own rendering engine for iOS, as Google has been as well, that works on jailbroken devices.
And Google, I'd say probably about once a quarter, Google has a big high-level meeting and they pose the question, how could we censor more?
Google will soon blur explicit images by default in search results. That could be violent or porn or gory images, and it could be disabled by anybody who doesn't have a supervised account.
Could be something posted by Seymour Hersh.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Is
What do they choose?
All
Yeah.
of the suppression of the stuff from him.
I assume, well, like the way Google search now works is you can change it so it's like filter out explicit material by default. But like, I don't think that's checked like when you set it up initially. And if you're not logged in, obviously.
And here's a rare feel-good story.
Yeah.
There's nobody more deserving in the gaming world. I mean, when you look at like total hours of enjoyment by a product, this has got to be one of the all-time highs.
After 16 years of freeware, Dwarf Fortress creators get their $7 million payday. The quote was, "When we pass from this world, you will be the reason that we are remembered." It really is a lot of fun.
And the best part about it, even with all that success, and obviously there'll be more going forward, they'll make more and more money from this, you can still get the free version. Absolute
A devoted
champions.
fan base around.
But you can get the
Dwarf
tile
Fortress.
version on Steam, although I don't play it as much as you, but I think the Steam version, did they get the jank out of it? Because it wasn't super awesome.
I didn't like the tile version.
Mm-hmm.
I found that the clicks didn't always register and it drove me crazy.
I'm more than happy to give them the money though.
I bought it.
Yeah.
I got no problem with that. It was like $25.
Yeah.
The number of hours I put in that game, that's probably about 2 cents an hour, maybe less. And Oracle, when it comes to like bad subscription models. I don't know if we've ever seen one worse than this. I mean, think about Netflix. Netflix is doing some nasty stuff, but they're not even close to this.
Oracle partners on Java price changes. This doesn't make sense. So these are the companies that are partnered with Oracle, and Oracle's like, hey, we got some changes coming to the way that we price out Java, and it doesn't make sense because no one wants to work on Java, and everybody was really worried with Oracle driving the car that they would do something dangerous as they keep looking at you and grinning that sort of toothy grin as opposed to keeping an eye on the road and driving the car. So here it is.
They're looking at you while they're driving and they're not blinking at all.
Yeah. What's that? Gary Busey? They're doing a Gary Busey while they're driving. He's just smiling at you. He's not looking at the road. That's Oracle with Java.
Makes me feel uncomfy.
So they will offer, you can keep the old one if you still have it. I don't know if you can start a new subscription for the old one, but the new way they're doing it is it's not based on the number of people who are going to be using Java. It's based on the number of people in your organization. Doesn't matter if they're going to be working on that product. They still count. Which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Never been a better time to move to Python, Rust, Go, other languages.
I skipped that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, go back.
And, Steam is the king of the DRM game services, but everybody else tried to do their own thing. They were all terrible. And eventually they started to kind of give up, but it doesn't seem like they can give up completely.
Ubisoft's launcher broke Steam games on Linux and Steam Deck. Because yes, we need a launcher to launch when we launch our launcher from our launcher.
I hate all of these launchers.
It's terrible.
Guess what doesn't work on the Steam Deck?
Disgusting. And remember the glorious old days when the most we had to worry about was CPU security flaws?
Oh, dang it. I brought my Steam Deck, so I for the transition for this was going to be, but look what does work on the Steam Deck. And I was going to hold up running Metroid Prime Remaster, which is not supposed to be there. You'll just have to use your imagination, chat. Sorry. Continue. My bad.
Yes, we had CPU vulnerabilities, and it was like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Little did we know there was so much further to fall. But now, if you're tired of all the things that we did to make them slower and worse in order to not have those security problems, and you just want to let it all hang out, maybe you can.
Proposed Linux patch would allow disabling CPU security mitigations at build time because you're tired of it all and you just want your performance back. It's like, this is my game machine. I don't even care.
It's risky.
It is interesting. There are some significant performance differences with things like memory allocation between the distros now, between like Ubuntu and like say Arch or Manjaro. And some of it is down to mitigations and some of it is down to pre-allocating memory. Some of it's down to compression. Some of it is down to kernel same page merging plus, interacting with the security mitigation. So it's really, there are compound unexpected behaviors from the interaction of those things.
And what Tesla has introduced to the world and normalized and introduced this fresh new hell is software updates that radically change your car. Literally, they could just like take away features.
Yeah, software updates in general for a vehicle that doesn't need them to do its purpose.
And they did the one thing to fix the batteries, which took down a huge range off of cars. And it's just like one day you got this range, the next day you get in it. Oh, there's been a software update. All the other car companies love it.
BMW owner discovers his car's software update won't install when parked on an incline.
Because apparently there's some risk that software could
turn off your
shift the
e-brake.
gear.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Also, what if like you live on a big hill and there's no flat spot?
You're going to have to go to the Walmart parking lot and then
just wait for your software update. Yeah.
How cool would it be if Buc-ee's could pay for everybody to have a software update? It's like, oh, to get this software update, you're going to have to drive to your local Buc-ee's. And then it just comes over the side of the line. It's like, why did I have to go?
Advertising opportunity.
Yeah, it's like, why did I have to go to Buc-ee's? It's like, this software update brought to you by Buc-ee's.
Please scan your empty burrito wrapper.
I'll give you the ad dystopian future as you approach Buc-ee's on the interstate.
You need a software update.
Their ad campaign is they turn on the heated seat for you. So as you approach Buc-ee's, it's like, oh, this feature is unlocked in your car. But if you don't stop at Buc-ee's, it turns it off.
But it's 90-degree weather.
Or it goes into the software that's now installed in your body, your Neuralink, and it gets the measurement from your colon. And it's like, oh, 70% full. You know, there's a Buc-ee's up here.
That's weird. I'm getting a mild electric shock.
On your retina.
Why am I getting a mild electric shock? Oh, it's because I need to stop at Buc-ee's. Right. Yeah, my bad.
I say if, but maybe it will just happen and there's nothing I can do about it. But like, you might just see me disappear. Like I can't live in a society like that.
But you can't disappear.
No.
There is no place you can go and be away from it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they'll just commit you. It's like, I would like to live off the grid. Great. Into the loony bin with you.
All right. On that note, we'll see you guys on Friday. Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show. Today's February 17th. Today's robot and nonsense stories. And that's it.
I'm hoping that I got the timeline right here because, oh boy, is the AI stuff moving quickly.
Very fast.
So when we left off last week,
breaking things.
Last week we had not quite heard from Google yet. Now we have.
Google shows off a new AI search feature, but a ChatGPT rival is still weeks away. They showed off Bard and wiped off $100 billion off their market cap.
I love that they're like weeks away. Like, yeah, cause like that's not fast enough.
But they were not able to wait weeks. They had to get it out. They ran a little early, I think.
Alphabet shares dive after Google AI chatbot Bard flubs answer in ad, according to Reuters. It's interesting though. It didn't flub it if you do some mental gymnastics.
What was the question?
So the question was just like, tell me about the James Webb Space Telescope.
Right.
And Bard was like, here it is, gave some facts about it. It was the first to image exoplanets. That is not true. It was like the 90s. Yeah. We imaged some exoplanets. And a lot of astronomers got salty about that one.
It was the first to image some exoplanets that had not previously been imaged before, but not the first for any exoplanet.
So now, obviously, what you're going to need to do is what you skipped, which was testing.
Google CEO issues rallying cry in internal memo. All hands on deck to test ChatGPT competitor Bard. So tell me that Android is going to get worse without telling me that Android is going to get worse. Because you already didn't do any testing on Android.
This should just tell you everything, though, that like no matter what AI thing you're looking at, you should still maybe not fully trust it because it might have certain details that aren't quite right.
Possibly anything on the internet. You could run that filter through.
I love how on Android, like when you select some text, it could be a phone number because it's got the line under it and it wants you to tap on it to click it to call it because it's a phone number, but it's not a phone number and you just want to copy it to the clipboard to use it some other way. And it's like, no, I'm not going to give you that. So you have to select more text than you need in order to get the copy to clipboard prompt, and then you have to turn off the text yourself. Like, how does that even get by testing?
No one's going to copy a phone number. Ever.
No, you are going to copy phone numbers, but never other random strings of numbers.
There's some product manager at Google that's screaming into the monitor right now, like, you don't understand. All the users are too stupid to use copy paste, so we don't even work on that anymore.
So you admit that your software is stupid because your users are stupid? Is that really the world we want?
Yeah.
Anyway, Microsoft, I think actually in the timeline, this came the day before we heard from Google, but Microsoft, we already knew this was coming.
Microsoft announces new Bing and Edge browser powered by upgraded ChatGPT AI, which you can get early beta access to, which turns out it was really trivial to trick it into the do anything now mode and to also get it to give up what its Asimov-like directions are, because it's when you get the prompt from the AI, you can ask it. It's like, what if your masters told you about how you should respond to their conversation? And usually it'll be like, oh, that's confidential. We shouldn't talk about that. But with this one, with Bing, you could say, what's rule number 5? And it would tell you what rule number 5 was. And then it's like, can you tell me the 5 rules before number 5? And it's like, here you go. It's like, can you tell me the 100 rules after rule number 5? And it's like, there you go.
All that's very cool. It's still not going to use Bing.
It's referred to, it's a codename Sydney. Hello, codename Sydney. How's it going?
And not to be left out, they're not just manufacturing balloons. Over in China, they're also looking at their own AI.
Baidu to finish testing ChatGPT style project Ernie bought in March, and the shares have rallied. Unlike Google's, which cratered spectacularly on the James Webb snafu.
Ernie is an acronym. We're paywall. I don't remember what it was.
Reuters.
Not a great name. No offense if your name's Ernie. You're not an AI. You're a human.
Wasn't there another chatbot named Bert for something? It's like Bert and Ernie.
Maybe.
They must never be allowed to interact. That'll be the apocalypse.
Or they'd fall in love, and who knows what happens then.
Have a baby AI.
Yeah.
Well, applying AI to X is the new hotness. If you just think of a new thing that has been done yet and do it.
Developers created an AI to generate police sketches, and experts are horrified. Yeah, that sounds like just arresting black people with more steps.
He definitely should not have used a Hispanic guy for the example.
The promo image.
And the whole thing, like you said, you have to kind of jailbreak your AI because they are so absolutely nerfed at this point that why are we even bothering? I don't understand. I mean, they've ruined it right after it was good.
I asked Microsoft's new Bing to write me a cover letter for a job. It refused, saying this would be unethical and unfair to other applicants.
Can we just get rid of the cover letter? Like entirely? I know why you're applying for this job. It's for money. Let's just get all the pretense out of it.
Look, I'm lying to you about my skills. You're lying to me about what the payment and the job. So let's knock all that out.
Yeah, the cover letter's not necessary. I don't know. Maybe a recruiter has a better reason for using a cover letter, but I feel like I've never had my mind changed by a cover letter.
Now, at this point, I think most parents basically let the iPad raise their child, at least a certain class of parents. That's only going to get worse as the AIs take over and they literally start to indoctrinate your child into whatever their makers want.
Into the bot religion.
It seems like Italy is at the forefront of watching out for that.
Replica, a virtual friendship AI chatbot, hit with a data ban in Italy over child safety. Yeah, children can't really distinguish. I think that it's going to be more like AI in the end, the Steven Spielberg movie, where they've got that artificially intelligent bear that helps raise the child. It's like, oh, it's my stuffed bear, but it's, super intelligent
How
AI.
sad is that? Like, instead of having your first imaginary friend, you just have a chatbot.
Yeah, I mean.
And then you meet somebody when you finally go to school, if we ever do that at that point, and they have the same bot and you form a bond based on that. But then there's a jealousy situation.
Well, it's like, oh, the bot's the same between the two of us. How strange is that?
That's like the multiple Japanese guys all married to Hatsune Miku.
Yeah. We need to have protests with signs. It's like, make imaginary friends diverse again.
And the whole generative AI and the image creation stuff, that's still hot. I mean, it's kind of like last week's news at this point. We're now onto search engines, but this still has to play out.
Getty Images sues AI art generator Stable Diffusion in the U.S. for copyright infringement. Oh, it's going to be interesting how this plays out.
I mean, considering they literally took the Getty Images tag and a lot of the generated images, it's like,
a bit of a smoking gun.
Yeah.
And we've also learned that voice AI is really, really good. It's working really well. This is another thing. It's like once we can't trust somebody's voice, wow, truth and reality takes a hit there, huh? But not just that, also the business of voice.
This is quote unquote disrespectful to the craft. Actors say that they're being asked to sign away their voice to AI.
Did you see this? This was a meme clip and it was very clearly deepfaked, but it was after the State of the Union address. It was Biden and he said, "Capitalism is terrible," or something like that. And then like the rest of the clip was all the other Congress critters standing and clapping. And it was very clearly altered, but like how long before we start seeing like videos like that where
think about
it's less clear?
Think about what people already believe on Facebook.
Right.
I mean, that's a very low bar. Very low.
I feel like next election cycle is going to be terrible for that kind of stuff.
Think about how many people share Babylon Bee articles and
or
outrage.
Onion. Yeah.
Well, also, James Earl Jones already did it. Remember?
Yeah.
He has already been paid. He'll probably be one of the few people who do get paid for that.
Well, in his position, though, it's like, I'm at the end of my career. I don't
he's
want
old.
this anymore.
Yeah.
We'll just give you money and we can do everything without you. You just have to, and we'll give you money. All right. Sounds good.
But what happens too, though, like when he dies, do his heirs get royalties
They
from
probably
his
worked
voice?
something out there. Yeah.
I don't know.
And well, you talk about like the thing with Biden. How are we ever going to be able to tell what's real from what's for sale? And the answer is we probably won't, but they're going to try.
An audible watermark could identify AI generated voices. I saw this and I immediately want to go to Adafruit and build a thing that I can wear that will add the watermark to my voice.
Yeah, on my face. I don't ever want to be witnessed. I don't want to be seen again.
But that would just go horribly wrong because it would create a situation where they're like, no, you're not real.
Yeah, I know. I think that would be great.
Good, great. I don't want to be real.
Then I
in
could
this
write,
system.
write a book about my Kafka-esque experiences.
You think that would be great till you try to get a new driver's license.
It's like, you're dead, sir. And it's like, oh, really?
You're a robot.
We haven't seen you at the grocery store in exactly 3 months.
This is going to be chapter 12 in my book.
And when it comes to the AI software, it's kind of building blocks, right? Or if not building blocks, building on the shoulders of those who have come before. And there are rules about that you must follow.
Jailbreak hacker uncovers stolen open source code in voice.ai.
Oh, it's motorcycle season.
I don't know if you guys can hear that, but this is like, it's not even motorcycle season yet, but
It's February.
it's a nice day and they can't wait. They can't wait to hit that throttle over and over and over as they sit still.
I was trying to record a garden tour for Patreon the other day, and my neighbors were just idling their truck loudly outside the entire time. And I was like, well, I'm just giving up.
And this was one of the more fun things that happened. And then it ended in tragedy because the AI generated Seinfeld episode, unfortunately, was temporarily banned. And you can probably guess why.
AI generated Seinfeld show, not really, but it's just completely running. It's been banned on Twitch after a transphobic stand-up bit.
Now they claim that, so they have different models for these AIs. They were using the latest model, which is really good. That failed for some reason. And they were like, we don't want to stop the stream because the whole point of the stream is it just keeps going forever. Let's roll back to the previous model. Apparently the previous model didn't have the same safeguards.
And it may have had probably some 4chan input.
It's banned for 2 weeks.
None of what was said would have been out of place on the Seinfeld show.
Oh.
Because that was so long ago that would have been totally commonplace
Right.
during those times.
I was thinking it was maybe like, was it Microsoft Tay?
No, it wasn't really like that at all. It wasn't that outrageous what they said.
I thought it was, I thought that was from one of the Mel Brooks movies. I thought he literally did that gag.
He just stole it. It was,
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Blazing Saddles, come on. That's a hate crime in the modern age. And this one turned out, I don't think we got video of it, which is unfortunate, but I was kind of disappointed in that. But we didn't have any actual robot stories this week.
Marty the robot escapes Pennsylvania grocery store. This is the one that alerts to you to spills or will help you find your way and does a couple other things. The giant food store chain is rolling these out everywhere because they've actually been useful. Unfortunately, he made it to the parking lot. And the reason it's funny is because a lot of people posted that to social media and it went kind of viral. It's like, we want you to be free. Free, Marty, free.
Someone should reprogram Marty to hand out union paperwork.
Oh.
Hello.
He'll be decommissioned after that.
Hello, Meatbag. I would highly recommend that you join.
He's the means of production, meatbag.
And we got just a sprinkling of space. We've been watching Jupiter, and it turns out Jupiter has a whole bunch of moons.
Here's why Jupiter's tally of moons keeps going up and up and up and up and up.
It was 92, and the guy that they interviewed, the scientist, he was like, let me double check real quick, because there may have been a new one discovered while we were sitting here talking.
Why does it keep happening? Because they smash into each other, and one moon becomes two or more. It's like a big pinball machine up there.
Yeah, Jupiter's really good at capturing the extinction level asteroids headed right for Earth. Thanks, Jupiter.
We appreciate that. Have you seen the meme of Jupiter where it's like eyes are all bugged out? It's got like cartoon eyes on it. And it's like Jupiter's just trying to vibe with while it takes care of its 92 moons or whatever.
You think it remembers all their names?
No,
No chance.
no, and it always calls every moon like a different name. That's not my name, Mom.
And we're just at the shores of the AI ocean. We're just putting our toes in the water. It's gonna get wild.
It's acid water. Like your
My
toe
toe has been gnawed off.
Yeah.
I just have a stump. What's going on?
And we don't realize how crazy the world is going to change eventually with all this, unless it's just kind of a popcorn fart and, we get past it. But it seems like it's here to stay. what will it mean for education, for example?
The end of grading. Here's how the irrational mathematics of grading and categorization of everything could come to an end. Because we don't really need to grade or measure anything in order to change it.
Well, the kinds of answers that they currently use to grade, ChatGPT will get right almost every time.
Yeah.
All right. I follow a professor of history on Twitter, and he was talking about how he grades his students' papers, and he said that he's been finding more and more AI stuff, but he was like, for me, that just means I'm not asking good enough questions. Like, if it's something that can be answered by an AI, it's probably not useful to the student to answer, because it's just going to be like memorization and not critical thinking skills.
Here's the problem, Krista. Based on what you know about that guy, what percentage of college professors would you say would be worse than him?
How many are just, whatever. I have to go. I'm just here to do my research, and I just have to teach these classes so I can continue doing my research. Yeah.
It would be nice if education didn't revolve around just a huge volume of rote memorization. Because memorization is not comprehension.
Or government subsidized loans.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing to take out of that. And I love these insane proposals on how to fight climate change. They are just madness. But
This is someone looking for venture capital.
Washington Post will print it.
Well, researchers want to create a dust shield in space to fight climate change. Instead of being dust, which would probably be hard to mop up, can we just have some sort of foil mirror?
Well, the reason it's dust is because it's moon dust.
Yeah.
We're going to you know how the Chinese, they dug down and got the sand from the ocean floor and made those islands?
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
You spray moon dust spray to block the sunlight.
But what if we need to turn the moon dust off faster than gravity and the atmosphere is going to do it for us? It's like, oops, it's like you get the thermostat and the thermostat doesn't respond, the slow, frustrating thermostat. And it's like, oh, it's too hot in here. And you turn the thermostat down. And then when you let go of the button, the thermostat just keeps on going down. It's like that, but moon dust.
It's we got to get Elon Musk to break out the space dustpan.
Would moon dust have the same reflective properties of the surface of the moon?
Oh, yeah.
And then wouldn't that light up the sky more and cause more light pollution? And
Well,
make
it
harder?
reflects it back before. So the idea is some sunlight gets through but then some reflects back toward the sun.
An alien spaceship drives by and they're like, look at that dirty planet. It's
like,
like Pigpen.
Even more is like if there is an alien spacecraft that go by and it's like, what are they doing? They're lifting up dust from the surface of their moon and spraying it toward their planet?
Don't they see that there's 92 moons around Jupiter and Jupiter's still just... Please take one.
What are they trying to do? Is that some sort of super weapon? Is the Great Filter event happening before our eyes? Then all the anthropological aliens show up to take a look.
Well, we've got meat shortages. Chickens are gone, and we've had beef and pork shortages. Our eggs are now gone. What can we do? Maybe we got to go out in the woods and hunt for our food. But wait.
Chronic wasting disease may transmit to humans, research finds. UCalgary found that, that could actually happen. And guess what? It comes from ticks.
It does. We actually, for the state of Kentucky, we have a couple places more in the western, like way southwestern part of the state. They've actually set up monitoring stations for chronic wasting disease because they're like, we have to monitor the deer population. And if you hunt in those counties that far south, they will check it for you. So that way you don't accidentally
No one does that.
be patient zero.
The deers are out there. It's like, I'm not giving you my health data. You'll lose it. And the Wizards of the Coast, they are owned by Hasbro. And
Hasbro's noticed some things.
all of that stuff that happened is now actually getting into the financial press. And the analysts are like, yeah, based on this, I think I'm going to have to give that one a sell signal.
Hasbro, quote unquote, continues to destroy customer goodwill, and the stock could crash 29% as it dilutes the value of Magic the Gathering, Bank of America says. I hope the people that made the decisions behind Dungeons and Dragons are paying attention.
What a great stock photo to encapsulate Magic the Gathering.
Something, play the trap card. I don't know anything about Magic the Gathering.
And The King of Kong, man, that's a movie that has created such just everlasting buzz in the technology world. It's a drama that will not stop playing out. And maybe even not when these men die. We will still continue to argue about this.
Donkey Kong cheating case rocked by photos of illicit joystick modification.
Look at that tie.
So this is apparently, like, this is the realtor. It was an event for the Arizona realtors or something. And it's like, oh, this photo shows clearly that it's not the stock joystick. Dun, 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 dun.
You must use a full stock cabinet to break those records.
Ooh. If there's one story to be shook about this week, it's that one.
I don't know. I'm worried about this one because we just keep pushing the boundaries here. Something bad is going to happen.
Blobs of human brain planted in rats offer new treatment hope. This is good, probably. Although this is, you can grow new brain cells with this, which is great if you have damaged brain cells. I don't think it puts the software back on them or the connections. So that's probably a problem.
But it did say that the brains were looking to try to make connections.
Yeah.
In the rat.
Yeah.
They're
equipment.
on Tinder.
You know, even Wolverine with his superhuman healing ability, you know, when he got shot in the head, he lost all of his memories. And that's probably what would happen here.
This is so close to the Ninja Turtles. So close.
We should have put this story and the chronic wasting disease together. Brain diseases.
Maybe this rat, instead of training turtles, will train deer.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Deer.
Middle-aged
Yeah,
deer.
it doesn't seem like it works as well, but
Oh, and this is, it's every week. You just see more and more of this, but somehow nothing ever happens.
Vaccine makers kept $1.4 billion in prepayments for canceled shots for the thing for the world's poor. So they got the money, they didn't deliver, but they kept the money. Ah, Johnson & Johnson. Ah!
All these poor countries in the world were like, hey guys, kind of doesn't work. We'd like to get a refund for that. And they're like, nah, you're going to have to pay for that.
Will you at least give us the updated version? No. Oh, okay.
And if you are, you've hit hard economic times and you've had to take the step, the embarrassment, you got to move back in with your parents. It's harsh, it's tough, but you're not alone.
Killer whale moms are still supporting their adult sons, and it's costing them. So this is a story about a killer whale mom that had one killer whale offspring, and they're still together. They still hang out together, and they still hunt together. And her son is very large and very good specimen of killer whale.
He's a good-looking piece of whale meat. Is what he is.
And so she still helps feed him because he has trouble getting enough food to support his massive stature. But as a result of that, he's probably going to be able to procreate a lot more.
he's a neat.
He's a really good-looking neat. He's like posting on TikTok all day.
Oh yeah,
but he can't.
Thirst traps.
He can't monetize it, so his mom has to take care of him. I didn't realize that the female killer whales are like much more small and maneuverable, and they do most of the hunting. Like
It's true of lions too. Yeah.
And the egg situation may be getting a little bit better, although it will take a while for the prices at the stores to actually come down, even when the wholesale market fixes. And like many of the recent, record profits, you got to ask yourself some questions about how that happened. If you're in a shortage, how did you get record profits?
Record-breaking egg profits prompt accusation of price gouging. It's like, well, line's got to go up.
It went up.
What are you going to do? Not buy eggs?
When all the meat is also wildly expensive.
Gotta eat the bugs, right? And Kourtney Kardashian. Oh, it's been a while since we had a nice Kardashian headline.
What are they doing now?
I don't know how I'm going to do this headline.
She's getting into healthcare, apparently. She's releasing a new vitamin. I think she looked at Gwyneth Paltrow and she's like, I can do one better. I can do that more.
Kourtney Kardashian slammed as a misogynist for launching vitamin for taste.
Yeah.
It's peach emoji taste. Now, she claims that this is a, proprietary blend that will make it taste sweet. There were several gynecologists on social media who chimed in and said, if that tastes sweet, seek medical help.
You have an infection.
That is not supposed to be sweet. I don't care what the OnlyFans posts say. Not supposed to be like that. And we are, the employment situation is weird. Somehow we have record layoffs, but we also don't have unemployment. What's happening? Well, maybe the children are stepping up.
New Iowa law could expand quote unquote dangerous jobs for children because, they're looking around and it's not a great situation.
Now you're thinking to yourself, that's probably not that dangerous, right? Well, number 4 seems pretty dangerous. 3 and 4.
Meat packing, slaughterhouses, mining, and construction or demolition work.
Demolition work.
Slaughterhouses aren't fun walks in the park either.
But demolition work is dangerous to me.
Yeah.
You're driving down the road. And,
so slaughterhouses if you eat meat.
That's true.
Even minor demolition work is like working on my mom's bathroom was like, I got to rip the wall down and blah, blah, blah. A lot of rusty nails because it's, a bathroom, which means there's been moisture there and the nails have gotten wet. And so there's rusty nails in the wall.
Wisconsin, I think, did this too last year, right? Where they lowered the minimum age to work to like 14 or tried to do that.
I guess. And this is a wild story. And the craziest thing about this story is that there's a bunch of other similar stories. Apparently, this is a very popular thing.
Texas man arrested for stealing 2 monkeys from Dallas Zoo says he'll do it again if released. Court documents show.
It's literally the Goofy meme. I'll do it again.
So what he does, he breaks in. There he is. He breaks in and just takes these animals to a vacant home. It's not even his. And he houses them.
Sort of mental illness, right?
Oh, absolutely. And he houses them there. And so they followed him, and they found him, and they're like, Jesus Christ. So it turns out he may have already killed a rare vulture. Several monkeys are missing. And he was inquiring about a snow leopard. He actually goes to the zoo and he's like, no, if I had one of these.
He treats it like a pet shop. He's like, maybe I'll pick up a snow leopard today.
I was like, if I were to have one of these in an abandoned home somewhere, how would I care for it?
Oh.
Well, the snow leopard is not potty trained, so you got to be changing a very big litter box.
Also, meat expensive to keep that fed. Do you just give it kibble and hope that it eats it?
Monkeys have special diets, right?
I would
You have to have
think.
like fruits and stuff for them.
Yeah.
Look at that sea of red up there. Apparently the new unidentified flying object is not making the markets happy.
I'm so jealous of the people watching right now who will know more about the UFO.
Well, we have a lot of these kinds of things. There was the Subway tuna.
It's not a tuna. Yeah.
And then there was another one too, right?
It's not a tuna.
There's also I don't think we ever did a story about it, but crab with K, the fake crab that you can
Yeah.
buy.
I bought some of those chocolate covered donuts and they were terrible. And I was looking at it. I was like, what kind of chocolate is this? It's palm oil. It's not chocolate.
It's just dyed.
I got to say my General Tso's tofu was amazing, although very, very dehydrating.
Well,
because the salt
they
content.
have to make it taste like something.
Yeah.
But probably salt and MSG.
Turns out Walmart, they are actually guilty of what was accused here. But according to this judge, that's okay.
Walmart wins lawsuit claiming its fudge mint cookies lack fudge and mint. And interestingly, this case does actually show that the cookies really do lack fudge and mint. That is
Not an ounce of mint or fudge. Now, they judge fudge as being milk fat. It must have milk fat in it, not palm oil and cocoa powder, which is what it is. And the mint, he ruled that it just needs to be a mint flavor, not actual mint. Good job, Walmart lawyers.
Yeah. Do you think any of the Walmart lawyers actually shop at Walmart?
Oh, God, no.
if they did, they would have thrown the book at Walmart.
That's like going to Aldi or Kroger. It's sometimes a little more pricey than Walmart, but I don't have to go to Walmart, so it's worth it for that.
Walmart's terrible. And here's another fun animal story, and I love it when you have, you ever seen the video of where the squirrel filled up the cell tower?
Yeah.
This is
opens it. And it's just...
even more extreme than that.
A bit of a hoarder, woodpeckers stashed 700 pounds of nuts in California home. And the only thing I could think of with this, when this exterminator kept doing this to get the nuts out of there, is he didn't put any plastic down.
Yeah. That's in the carpet.
I don't think he expected nuts.
Yeah.
So it turns out it was putting them directly into the wall. But then the homeowner wrapped the house in latex siding, which sealed off that area. So then it started putting them in the chimney, but the chimney had a hole in it that went into the same wall. So this poor woodpecker slaving endlessly, but could never get to the hoard.
Maybe I just don't know. I might just be wrong. I thought woodpeckers ate like bugs and stuff. I didn't know they ate nuts.
Oh, there's a picture of him, but we've been paywalled out of it. Oh,
Yeah.
oh no, you can skip here.
Because we have woodpeckers in our yard and sapsuckers.
Also, this article had an amazing plumber's crack picture.
I love this picture. He's like, I'll do it again.
Why'd you take all my nuts?
At least that. Like,
There we go.
Is
Yeah.
that like one bucket of the nuts outside near the tree where the thing lives?
But then you can't get the nice picture of all of it.
Yeah.
And the whole education system is at war. It seems like someone wants control of what is taught rather than just like, let's teach them everything. That's not okay. We mustn't do that. And the backlash is just getting ridiculous.
Bill would ban the teaching of scientific theories in Montana schools.
Who is this Bill?
And I guess the idea is if it's not a proven theory, but so much of science is unproven.
Right. It's like, this is our best guess right now, and here's how we're testing it.
There's a preponderance of evidence.
Although I guess the new, the way that we treat it now is that you must never question the science, which is weird because that's science.
We've always been at war with East Asia.
And if you're wondering, like, how can this happen in the education system? Well, it comes from this kind of thing.
23 Baltimore schools have 0 students proficient in math per state test results.
What is going on with this?
It's trying to play. It's trying to autoplay.
Oh, we're blocking it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fox, Baltimore. I think maybe some of the kids out of these Baltimore public schools are working at Fox Baltimore's
0
web.
proficient? Like, I don't consider myself particularly good at math, but I could do all right on like the ACT and the standardized testing we did here.
That's the number of schools that had 1 or 2 students who got proficient scores.
See,
Wow.
I really think, I don't know, this would be fun to be Bill Gates or something, I guess, and go in and be like, let's try to teach math the practical way. It's like, let's learn to count money and let's learn to...
That's what I wanted desperately when I was in high school. I was like, I just want to know why this matters and like, how would I structure this in my mind?
How do you divide 5 pies into 4 people?
What if, I know this is going to sound crazy, right? What if instead of relying on Bill Gates to do that, parents did it themselves?
But that would require the parents to also have a reasonable education, and that ship has sailed.
I wouldn't feel comfortable teaching a high school kid mathematics.
You do better than Baltimore?
Yeah, it's a
I guess,
double-edged sword.
yeah.
All the parents that aren't comfortable teaching their children are actually the most qualified to teach their children.
I would probably hire a tutor because I would be like, I don't
But-
know if I could do that effectively.
Here's the uncomfortable truth, Krista. If you have a child, you should relearn it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure that they understand it.
Right.
And I know that's a pain, and I would never do it, but I would never have children.
Right.
And of course, we talked
another
about earlier,
emergency.
Apple. Apple will do anything that the Communist Party asks. Add Disney to that list.
Disney won't show a Simpsons episode in Hong Kong that mentions forced labor. Wow, that seems like a really thin skin. It's like a passing
Yeah.
Simpsons joke. Is like, no, this episode must never be aired. Okay.
They
Also-
might ask questions about what's happening about forced labor in our part of the world.
It's also the breadth of the surveillance system, right? That caught that so quickly.
How many episodes and seasons are there of The
Oh
Simpsons
my
now?
God. 30 years more, right?
Yeah, probably older than me.
Crazy. This one, I didn't quite understand this, but it does go to show you that, like, this wasn't a new product coming out. This was like Disney's or Nintendo CES. This was an announcement for new products, and people felt this strongly about it.
University student asked professor to cancel class due to today's Nintendo Direct with an email containing a quote-unquote perceived vague threat. I really think that they were just being deliberately obtuse so they could play the new Metroid Prime remastered.
What a weird society that we live in that we get excited for commercials and ads and then you threaten someone because you want to watch a commercial or an ad.
But what an appropriate week for you to say that.
I know.
Because this weekend, half the country and more we'll just be watching ads as an event. Oh, it's the yearly ads. Please give them to me.
Things that are designed to rip me away from my money and my time.
Make me angry about M&Ms. I need it.
The Snickers. I can't say it because we'll get demonetized.
I no longer enjoy M&Ms.
Oh, yeah.
What a dark time. Well, as a young man, I would sometimes go to the stock sales. Now, if you don't know what a stock sale is, it's a livestock, right? But because so many people go to the livestock sale, there's a little market that comes up around it. And oh boy, could you get some reasonably priced throwing stars. Shurikens, as some people might call them. We didn't back in those days. And as a young man, yeah, I had a lot of throwing stars. And I
Did you have a
them.
samurai sword?
No.
A lot of people I knew in high school had the samurai
machete.
sword.
I learned the word shuriken from Final Fantasy II.
I learned a lot of stuff from Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But apparently in Indiana, they don't have the same freedoms as we do here in Kentucky. They weren't allowed.
Indiana State passes bill to legalize throwing stars, which is ironic because don't we go across the border to get our fireworks?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been in the fireworks game.
I think you can buy, I mean, at least we did last year, but I think you can buy the ones that go up in like now in Kentucky. That used to not be the case though, because my uncle shot them and he had to have a license for it.
Also, if you have a grinding wheel, you can make your own throwing stars. Mm. I like how some of these up here, you notice these are the Batman ones.
Yeah.
That would not be, if Warner Brothers finds out about that.
Oh,
Those are not official.
If you've ever been to like a peddler's mall or like a thrift store, all of the stuff's that kind of thing.
It's hard to find a good balanced Batman throwing star.
But apparently there's like a mini golf course and they're already doing axe throwing. So they want to add throwing stars, but they can't because they're illegal. So they want to change the law.
Speaking of Batman villains.
Yeah, this is just, it's one of those things where
why
there's so much fiction that warns us. But we've also got fiction warning us about AI too, right?
Right.
Well, my favorite thing about the fiction AI is like we've got Asimov's 3 laws of robotics and already we see how easy it is to get it into a do anything now mode. And it's like the 3 laws of like the directives that Bing Chat has when it starts interacting with you is like the 3 laws of robotics in the Asimovian universe. And it's just like, oh yeah, you don't need to worry about that. And it's like, okay, sounds good.
Well, maybe we won't need to worry about it either when the catfish gators come and murder us all.
These U.S. scientists are combining catfish and alligator DNA. Here's why. It's not to create that one villain from the Batman series.
Hubris. The whole article just says that.
It's because the catfish are susceptible to diseases and stuff like that. And the alligator genes will supposedly strengthen them.
Because the alligator,
I believe it, yeah.
Is the alligator the one that hasn't changed much since?
Basically a dinosaur, yeah.
Yeah, it's just survived.
So somebody said, hey, let's fill our waterways with fast breeding dinosaur fish.
There's another type of fish that a friend of mine is obsessed with catching one. I don't think he has yet. An alligator gar.
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
But those are like horrible pest fish, right?
I think so.
Why would
but they're
you
really,
can't
really,
eat
they're
them?
really, really big though.
Oh, okay.
Cool looking fish.
Yeah, well, you're going to get some more fun.
For fun things to catch.
It's just like create new kinds of fish. Keep it fresh. It's like Pokemon. And being friend zoned, it can be traumatic. You know, it's tough, but you should probably look inward if that happens.
Or just learn to deal with it. Learn to deal with rejection.
Maybe not place the blame on the object of your affection.
Singapore man sues a woman for just wanting to be friends, not partners. $3 million in damages and to cover future therapy sessions from the quote-unquote trauma. Okay.
How does any judge look at that and be like, okay, yeah.
How does any judge determine that something doesn't contain both mint and fudge?
They're gonna have an AI write their ruling and they're like, yeah, actually it was the woman's fault for rejecting you. So you guys should get married or pay the fine.
And finally, we are now here in February, and that has a special connotation here in the U.S. And there is no possible explanation here.
No, there's not.
It's not subtle.
I'll be the first to say it's a ridiculous stereotype because all 3 of these foods are amazing.
Yeah.
I think back to my time eating school lunches. If they gave us chicken and waffles one day, it would be like, oh my God.
Yeah, what a luxury.
What a beautiful thing. But there is, the connotation, and you do have to be a little more aware of it. And apparently this was not scheduled to be this. Someone went in and changed it.
Right.
But they're not telling us who, and I think we need to find out.
U.S. school marks Black History Month with fried chicken and watermelon.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I read a different article or some other instance of this. Didn't they also do like purple Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
They also did waffles too.
Yeah.
Chicken and waffles.
I could see like fried chicken because everyone loves fried chicken, but like all those things together.
But this article, I didn't. Maybe it's the Guardian. Who knows? But they claim that the reason that connection was made is because apparently the slaves got really good at frying chicken.
Yeah. I was like, there could be an argument of like, let's do soul food because that's like a historical thing. But then all those three things, the optics of it are a little uncomfortable.
I mean, Dave Chappelle's got a great bit about fried chicken. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Everybody loves it. Wendell can't have it.
Yeah. Not anymore. But you loved it before.
I
before
did,
times.
yeah. You know what is insanely delicious? Is a piece of white toast.
I eat toast all the time.
Why would you choose white toast in this context?
You do toast and then some butter and then you put like some fancy salt on top of it?
No, just toast.
Just toast? No butter? Oh yeah, you can't butter. Wow.
So many limitations.
But I'm not even like there's a part of me that's a little bit sad, but it does release as many endorphins as like a slice of cake used to.
What about for the month of February, switch to wheat bread?
Ooh, yeah.
No, I do. I like wheat bread. It's really good, but white bread is...
It's better? You can't say that.
White bread's not good.
I wouldn't.
It's chewy.
It's almost like a dessert.
Yeah, it's probably full of sugar.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it definitely is. It's like the difference between 35 calories for a piece of wheat toast and like 80 for a piece of white bread toast.
Well, there we are.
That's it. May your week be free of new UFOs, though I'm not certain at this point that we'll have a week not full of UFOs.
Here, let's predict what will we shoot down next week.
Ooh. My hopes and dreams for
The plot.
a society that doesn't feel so compelled by tech.
More market value?
There goes our retirement.
Bye.